to the wise, we are an explicit podcast tackling content with adult themes, as well as entering spoiler territory if you aren't caught up with us. This week, that would be through the chapter Brethren in the book Howling by Christopher Rocchio. Hey there, this is Kross.
We are Josh. We are words. We are whiskey.
Words, whiskey. A podcast for veteran and novice readers alike. We tackle fiction novels and love to talk about what we're drinking. You should think of us as your intoxicating weekly book club.
They builded us of whiskey. They builded us of books. They builded us of words.
We came from the press. We emerged.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all that. We're a little, okay. Oh man, I should have talked about this in the Devil's Cut. Doesn't matter. It's here now. There's a used bookstore / nerd store / it's all like anime figurines, books, records, DVDs and stuff, but it's like super anime nerdy forward. Called Book Off near me that I like a lot. And I went in recently and I found one of the 2 books in the Wheel of Time that I don't have the original mass paperback for, which is Eye of the World, because I lent that out forever ago. So I have the modern Eye of the World, but I have all the old other ones. I found the old Eye of the World and I was very fucking happy, and it was $3. But there were also a couple Stephen King books in that section that were super cheap, so I grabbed Carrie, which I've never read, but
nice.
It's Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie's incredible.
And then another one, and I don't remember, something till midnight, I think.
4 Past Midnight.
4 Past Midnight.
I think that's 4 different novellas, a couple of novellas. Yeah.
And 4 Past Midnight, both of them, $2.99. So I was very pumped on that. With that said, there was a reason I brought that up involving this. For sure. And I have forgotten.
Was it Brethren related? Was it?
It was definitely related to this book.
Mr. Begone, which is
Mr.
what
Begone,
I said that triggered
yes.
you? Yeah.
There were a bunch of Clive Barker books, and I didn't end up getting them because they weren't in the cheap section. They were still $20, but I was like, hey, a bunch of old used Clive Barker books, and they look sick, and I thought of you. That's all.
Yeah, Clive's the guy. Clive's the man. Clive's the real OG.
The real OG?
That said, I do really badly want to talk about this book. We were already kind of beginning to talk about it a little bit in the Devil's Cut, so we were like, hang on, we got to go talk about that. Today is our 6th episode talking about The Howling by Christopher Rocchio. This week we're reading The Gorgon through Brethren. With that, vibes, how are we feeling?
Count Cigar is a freaky bitch.
Freaky bitch.
Yeah,
freaky,
I didn't expect that.
Freaky.
Carl, I didn't know you were down like that. That's crazy.
This is a lot, dude. Interesting.
Hadrian reacted one way, I might have reacted another, So...
I mean, there's a good argument that Hadrian was into it, and that that's the only reason that he
which we're about to talk about. We're about to talk about for sure. Yeah. Other vibes. We have gotten more hints. So last section with the Oracle, we get some hints, and then in this section, we also get some hints that maybe there's still a little more to be learned. Maybe we'll get to know something about the ship that Hadrian went missing from. I swear to God, dude, Saltus. Yeah. Saltus is coming back, baby. That's who he is at the end of this chapter, I think.
He's been reborn as Saltus.
Yeah. No, this is this section is wild. Because last section started to dabble. This section is hey, the book you thought you were reading? Fuck off. We're going to start world building now. This is the type of book we're doing. And it's rad. This is so sick. I'm so pumped on this section. I get why people were like, hey, 2.5 books, you'll get sucked in. Yeah. I'm assuming I'm about at that spot because... God damn, what a wild ride. Every single time a new scene happens, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, I really do think that Rocchio kind of hits a stride late in this book that I don't think relents.
Okay.
To be frank, I don't know. There's a couple of moments where I'm like, okay, you got to take a little bit of a break between everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But this was definitely the moment when I went, oh no, this is like an all-time series for me. Like, this is when I went, I want to cover this on the podcast. This was that turning point of like, as long as this maintains this level of quality, I'm down. Like, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
and we're here
right
now. So,
yeah.
That should be a sign.
Probably my favorite section. I mean, I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anybody who's read these books. I think my favorite section so far of any read that we've done, book 1 or 2.
Yeah. Not a shock. To me, it's also expected, to be frank. Like, I went into this with the understanding, and the reason that I broke these 2 sections up the way that I did is because it was like, let's get introduced to Karn Sagara. Okay, let's see how fucking crazy this is. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like my assumption, and I don't know what happens after this section, is that the people who have read these books that are following along with the journey were waiting for us/me to get here, because this is tight. This is some stuff.
It's some tight shit. Yeah. That said, let's start talking about it. Let's get into it here. We start off with the Gorgon, which is our first little section. We open this week with the hands around his neck that we had ended with last week, revealing Naya, a homunculus servant. He compares her almost immediately to a Gorgon, like a Medusa, a perfect seductress, almost seemingly just for him, jawline carved, eyes that are reminding him of someone else that he knows. Yeah, her clothes even vanishing as though they were a hologram, and he can't get past his past with her, seeing his brother, mother, and more in them, despite pushing her away, despite his aching, he says, for her a couple of times.
There's a line in this section that I need to call out. It's going to just, if I don't get to it right now, I'm not going to be able to get past it. You can't, you can't say everything left except for the one at attention one-eyed soldier. You can't be saying
did I miss this?
I swear to God, let me find it. Give me 1 second. Let me grab the book. I thought I heard it on the first pass, and on the second I was like, no, it's there.
Yeah, no, you're right. Hang on. I have it right here.
Okay.
I never finished that drawing. This is a little bit later in the chapter. I never finished that drawing. There was a strength in her clean limbs and an urgency that scattered my legion and left a single one-eyed soldier at attention.
Yeah. Just because you're being poetic doesn't mean you didn't just say that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't think about most of this chapter. It's just that. It's just that one line.
I remembered the scattered the legions bit. I just disconnected the dick joke of it all. From holy
left
shit.
at attention, a single one-eyed soldier.
Yo.
There you go. Moving on to the devil and the coal. No, definitely not. This is a crazy chapter to talk about.
It's a crazy chapter because this appears to be a homunculus at first. Naya demands the drawing. We just talked a little bit about that as she ends up jumping over the table, and they begin canoodling, making out. Even though he paints it as her totally forcing herself on him,
and yet he's aching for her. There's the red haze taking over his mind.
The one-eyed soldier.
He doesn't remember where his hands were or what they were doing. You remember. You remember quite well.
Yeah, you remember real well. You just don't want to say it.
Yeah.
You don't want to write that into the journal.
Yeah.
But then
I wish he doubled down, though. He was like the one-eyed soldier, and then later he should have mentioned, the lonesome cannon. just with the military stuff, Yeah, keep going with it. The polished rifle, if you will.
Yeah. There's this, little moan, and my hands traced up along her sides until I held her face between them, fingers in her hair. That was when I felt it and froze. There was a metallic spur. So
he was going
that
for
was
it.
the moment. He was fucking going for it.
Which is interesting. This actually does bring up... God, I gotta break away from the dick joke because there's serious shit I want to talk about here. It, to me, brings up an interesting question I have about Hadrian's own recounting of himself up to this point. Because... he was for sure down. He was going to sleep with the bed servant here. He has so much disdain for Valka for sleeping with the bed servant that he tells us is not because of jealousy of Valka sleeping with somebody, but because of a dislike of someone who uses bed servants. He has the same thing with Crispin. But this doesn't feel like a, oh my god, I'm now, like, I feel guilty that I almost slept with a bed servant because that's against my morals. This feels like, oh, I almost slept with Karn Sagara. Gross. Has Hadrian been using bed servants, like, sparingly throughout his life? Because this feels like I don't do it morally, but sometimes.
Yeah, it very much could be. I also see this as like he got comfortable and used to sleeping with Jinan as much as he did, and he like kind of misses that too in the moment.
But he got laid, and he's like, oh, yeah,
exactly.
Kind of missed that.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But that's not a dissuasion of like that could potentially also be the other angle, like that he's been including that, which even we talked about with like Kyra and sort of some of the things there.
Yeah.
It's like there's a big question mark around Kyra and the actuality there.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, this is
which he also brings up in context here. So
yeah, the moment his hand touches that thing at the neck, this chapter changes a bit, and it's so good. It's so upsetting. It's so violating. She like shifts whenever he's like, "You're him, aren't you?" Just the eyes, like the pupils change, like she's coming down from a drug. I don't know if this is a quote you have here, but like sits forward, legs parted, hands on knees, just becomes a like Karn's full physicality. Like, oh my god, Karn, you freaky bitch! Like, I'm gonna send my sexiest me to go fuck this guy. Like. Oh my god! What a mind fucker, dude! Like,
how interesting, right? Like, what a turn for a villain to also be like, I'm gonna fuck that guy. Like I'm gonna send. I can control all of these bodies. I can do all of this thing. Also, she's just sleeping. She's just
sleeping.
She's just back there. She's eepy.
She's eepy. I'm here now.
Yeah.
I do feel
Daddy's
like
home.
Yeah, I feel like she was...
Daddy Sagara.
She was present. She was the one sent at the beginning. In my mind, Karn could still probably see through her, was watching the situation. But then at the moment that he's like, "You're Karn, aren't you?" He says, "Go sleep, honey," and then he takes over. That's how I read it. I don't know how you read it, but...
I read it as it's Karn the whole time. But, like, there's a layer of subconscious that, like, exists still, and you can just pilot that.
Nice. Either way, so fucked up. I like that idea actually a little bit more because it makes Karn freakier. Whenever we got Karn,
nasty. Yeah.
Whenever we got Karn, I thought we were getting, I don't know, the Emperor from Star Wars, maybe with a little like Strahd zest, Yeah.
Right.
I did not realize we were getting Frankfurter. Like, it's not half bad. It's not even full bad, is it?
Yeah,
it's
right. Like, absolutely.
I'm like, oh my god, dude, this guy is wild.
Well, and it's really interesting again to kind of consider, like within Karn and the 15,000 years, and then with a little bit of the information that we have later, based on the fact that like children and genders and everything is amorphous to him in so many different ways that like
yeah.
I mean, like sex is sex. Like he's just gonna he sees an opportunity. Maybe it's been a couple thousand years. Maybe he hasn't tried.
I guess he could just like fuck himself.
Of course, yeah.
Sure he does. Don't we all?
I don't know if that's as much fun though as manipulating someone, because this is almost like we're giggling about this. Important.
No, it's sexual assault.
This is sexual assault. Yeah.
Let's be serious here. If this was a If this was a different written chapter and was not a male character, it would be a lot darker. It is still dark being a male character, but it's easier to joke around about it because he has a one-eyed soldier joke.
Right. Like he's joking about it the whole time, and it's like, are you going to keep your boots on, soldier? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, there's
exactly.
like a little
but
bit.
But this is also a very, very
yeah.
violating, very, very dark situation, which makes Karn as a villain like way more interesting than I thought he was going to be. Like, I thought he was very intriguing, but, like, the personality on him is dark and twisted and interesting. Chose this specific homunculus because she had similar features to Valka is wild. States it. That's whenever Hadrian realizes or admits to himself what this person reminded him of. The fact that, like, at the end, knowing what we know, Karn's like, "You want me to leave the girl?" Whoa! You know, like, what a... All right, yeah, it was me. Still want to? You know, like,
Yeah, right, exactly.
wild.
Yeah, and I'll stay out of it. Don't worry about it. You know, like that's sort of the. It also makes me question how much of, like, and this is I think that this is something that we could have brought up and talked about previously, and maybe we did a little bit last week, but how much of Yume is Karn? You know what I mean? Like how much of that interaction, how much of all of these interactions
like
are actually Karn?
He's the king with 10,000 eyes, but is he every eye all the time? Or does he choose which eye he is at any given moment? You know, like, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah. He just wears them temporarily.
Yeah, is this like a security cam room? Or is this like a million eyes, you know?
I view it as a as a security cam room, but how many cameras can he operate at once too? You know?
Exactly.
Like, there's probably some limit. He can probably be everywhere at once, but...
Yeah. But, yeah, that's... This chapter's crazy to combine a cliffhanger on the last chapter of him being maybe abducted or murdered, straight into sexy time with hot girl, straight into hot girl's actually old man, straight back into maybe hot girl, you know, like,
yeah.
sprinkle in some dick jokes and some like serious revelations about like
Sinister undertones. Yeah,
it's like we have a serious conversation about consent and her inability to say no, and then we also have a dick joke, and then we also have the consent factor from Hadrian not knowing who this person actually is, and then at the end of the day, Karn's fucking freaky. I don't know. I think that's all I really have to say there, but like, what a weird, in a good way, chapter, you know?
Yeah, part of the reason that I really like this whole section too, in the way that it's kind of blocked off for us, is that it focuses and it fixates on choice in particular.
Yeah.
And we start here and we end with Brethren and sort of like this must be, like there isn't a choice in so many ways. We'll get to more of the specifics there, obviously, when we get there, but like that's sprinkled throughout all of this section and really starts here.
Yeah.
And Hadrian's interrogating that a lot. I do want to mention I really love the very end of this chapter, not just the leave the girl, but right before that, you know, Hadrian is doing his best to deflect everything, and he sees this replica of cottages at Cordoville, which is, I believe, oh man, it's such a recognizable...
there's a great line in this section.
About painting, or did you have...
I'll wait to see what you say, but this did remind me of...
This is specifically about Van Gogh, right? Which is the cottages of Cordoville are a Van Gogh painting. He says, Karn says, they said the artist was too intense, that he frightened people. Seem it strange to you that such a thing might be said of who made so innocent a painting? And Hadrian replies, it's the color. People are afraid of color. Your painter saw too much of it. And Karn replies, is that why you only work in black and white? Because you are afraid? An artist afraid is no artist at all.
Which is great, but I love Hadrian's response. Such a good conversation. An artist afraid is no artist at all.
Is that why your palace is all gray stone? Because
you're afraid? Oh, man. I was like, every now and then Hadrian hits me with something, and I'm like, all right, rich boy, all right. Pretty solid. Is that why your palace is all gray stone? Because you are afraid. Oh! I honestly, like, through that point, we know this is Karn. We know that this is a psalm, that this is a crazy situation. Hadrian's violated. Hadrian's terrified. Hadrian is confused. I think Hadrian kind of still flirting. That's a brutal but flirty comeback. It is.
There's definitely something there. he's uncomfortable with the whole situation, for sure. And like even the get out is like a little like the punctuation there in particular, get out with periods in between, like
otherwise I don't know what I'll do, Karn.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only one bed. The doors are locked.
Things you say, all the things. Sorry. Have you watched Heated Rivalry yet?
No.
I think this is season 2. Anyways,
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure that being more angry and violated and terrified made Hadrian any less turned on in this specific scene.
Yeah, hard to say.
Which
for
is
sure.
the hard part.
Hard to say. With that, we can move into the Devil and the Golem. So we return to another strange dream with just some gorgeous prose as we start to see what we can identify later as brethren via text. As he wakes, splashing in the water, seemingly guiding him along with the image of the broken arch that we see later. This is sort of our precursor text for what we'll come to.
It's interesting because we've been getting these little dream voices towards Hadrian. Something's calling out to him, so this is like a more clear view that we know what it'll be later now. Very interesting on a reread to like have the splashing in the water and everything. But,
Yeah, and it's important to note that this is also where like Naya lingers in the room a little bit. He's ruminating on that. He misses Ginod, which is kind of where I'm coming from with the angle of like, I think that's a part of it, for sure. But yeah, those words are echoing into infinity for sure. That said, after this dream, Hadrian is then left with his thoughts about Gibson and his reflection on Naya and choice. This is sort of a big conversation that he circles around here, saying a lot, but pulling a little quote here. Those who say we are only flesh must reason that we have no will of our own, that we serve our impulses, which are rooted in our brains and nowhere else. Going so far as to draw a line and compare Karn himself to a lab rat in a maze of his own design. Saying that he doesn't have choice, that he's relying on instinct because he's no longer a human, and like comparing him to an animal as opposed to a being. I think he's just reacting.
Yeah, he's he's having a bit of a crash out. Is this the section? I feel like it might be a later section, but it's a Gibson thing where we revisit the different types of obedience.
No, that's later.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Man, Gibson sure shows up for a dead guy.
Yeah. No, he shows up a lot. He shows up quite a bit. Yeah, no, here Gibson says, we are all pawns, my boy, but remember, no matter who moves you, your soul is in your hands. You have a choice. And then, reflecting on Naya, none of us has a choice. Or was it Karn? Yeah.
Yeah, none of us has a choice. We like what we like. We can't explain it. We just try and explain it away. Pretty good sentence there. But also, it's interesting to have this. We all have a choice. Like you said, we're talking about that where we go with this section is very much so that Hadrian doesn't really have a choice. That this is all kind of destined, with the caveat of if you survive for it. Like there's two futures: the one where he lives and this happens, and all the ones where he doesn't. Which is not great for him, but fun to read.
Yeah. It makes for a very tough, like... Sorry, I'm grappling with this a little bit because there are future things in my brain where I'm like, well, now that we're in exciting time zone space, I'm like, I have things to say, but I can't say all of them.
Well, I mean, he does die a lot, is what I think you're going to say.
Well, like... Who knows? But I in particular, I think one thing that we can kind of point to here is that like he thinks about humans as dogs, right? As this whole thing, like there's a different plane of existence for Karn within the spectrum of things as far as he considers. But like, is that he compares it and says like they do not create, they do not choose either, and so like he's also saying that Karn doesn't. Which is also kind of an interesting reflection on AI on the whole.
Yeah, we're definitely starting the conversation we're going to end this section on.
Yeah, right.
And, I mean, the Exalted are such like a stepping stone, such an in-between between, like, true humans and Americanii, but Hadrian's a stepping stone between the two as well. He's...
Yeah, in his own way.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
More like a divergent path, but they're ending at more similar.
There's like something to be
branches.
said for like a human that is designed by technology is not that different than a technology designed by a human to seem human.
Right. But I think that's what he's arguing, though, is that, like, they can't create, right? So that's, like, the biggest difference is that, like, at least I have a choice, you know?
Yeah. Does he?
Supposedly. Yeah, right.
And can they not?
Right. We know that Naya doesn't. She's a homunculus. And, buddy, again, you're not that far off from homunculi.
Exactly. There's a line in the last section, I think, actually, but where he's like, that's the difference, like, the ability to choose. Like, Naya can't say no, Naya can't choose, and that's why she makes me more uncomfortable than these other homunculus who can choose, but it's programmed into her system. I'm like, dude, how do you know your decisions aren't programmed into your system? Like, you are still a programmed creature born unnaturally, like, with every single aspect of you designed. So, like, the you that you are, is that a choice? Or is that a design?
Yeah, it begs, it like adds another layer to the conversation of nature or nurture, or programming.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
like,
hey man, Switch
or design. You know, if you want to say it that way.
Switch is his own, you know, the master of his own will to a degree. Any of the plebs, for sure, but like Hadrian, you're also a program more than you are a person. So,
yeah. A gene program.
Exactly. It's a program that uses genomes instead of circuits, but at this point, what we learn later is that's how AI works at this point anyway, so.
I was not prepared for that. So finally, to round out this chapter, there's a conversation with Yume about whether or not it can lie. Hadrian just doesn't believe it, despite it giving him all of these different odds and references over the course of space and time that we've seen him. And truthfully, Yume has never lied. He also hasn't really even bent the truth, which is interesting, but that doesn't mean necessarily that, you know, we can place faith that this isn't also a specter of Karn, right? The king with 10,000 eyes lurking in the distant shadows here.
It's actually this whole section's such an interesting spectrum of humanity, because like you have at least mentions of like Switch and Polino who are like humans, and then you have Hadrian and Valka, which are somewhere in this amorphous space. I'd almost put Valka as more human, and then Hadrian is less human, because Valka's mildly augmented, but that's not that different than having like a prosthetic hand, in my opinion. And then you have like oh my god, what's his name? We're going to meet him later. Starts with the C. Or
Calvert. Father Calvert.
Yeah, you have Father Calvert, and you have the Psalms, and you have all of these things that, like, are... Sagara, that are, like, maybe tangentially human, but more machine than anything else. And then you have Yume, and then you have Brethren. Like, it's just, like, this weird slope of, like, what is human, what is not. And whenever you look at them, like, which ones seem to interact with their own sense of self and personality more than others. And it's like Brethren is less human than, like, half of these, but seems more human in a lot of ways that we're going to get into whenever we get there. But, yeah.
Yeah, it leads to a very complex conversation. I mean, especially if we're comparing this with fantasy, right? Fantasy generally just has races, and you're all a part of these different subsections, and maybe you're a halfy, whatever, you know, at some point.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You got, like, halflings, you got elves, you've got, like, the Silmarils light that were given through song into the mortal world that were then used to sing existence into the future, but then they were consumed by a dark spider, I think. And then, it's super simple stuff.
I'm not saying that it's simple. For the record. What I'm saying is that like you generally have like pretty clean, distinct piles that you group a lot of things into, you know, and you do here too. For the record, like we can be like, hey, there's this conversation of the exalted. Here's homunculi. Here's human. Here's Cielson as sort of like our orc elves that are horrifying.
Yeah.
You know, or drow maybe is just a simpler term.
And then we hit this.
Yeah, and then it's like, wait, okay, so we have to consider the fact that there's actually a spectrum of space, and what's the spectrum of humanity and the soul, you know, which is sort of the big argument here.
Yeah, that like conversation about that I think is in the section, like maybe, goddamn, there's so much of it that's all
there's
jumbled in my mind.
Again, choice and soul are like very critical to this whole chunk.
Yeah,
so,
where it's just like if you know, like do you exist in your atoms or do you leave as a ghost whenever you die? Like,
yeah, that's Brethren. I did pull that full quote later because that's one of my favorites. But
Jesus.
Yeah, Brethren lays it fucking out there.
Brethren says some stuff. Brethren says everything, actually.
Yeah, now you understand why I was like, please physically read this chapter.
Yeah.
In addition to, you know, give it as many listens through as you can, because you're going to want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, with that, I think we can get into Tanaran. We can move forward there. So this is a really fun chapter. Of course, Tanaran and Falco return to our boy, of whom has been so lonely in his apartment for the whole day and a half that, you know, since kind of our last update. But no one else joins them, as everyone else on the ship is very unsettled. But what's happening to the Mistral appears to also be happening to all the other ships, and so there's this sort of... There's this layer of okay, because this is just the way Vorgosos is. And so, while unsettled, at the very least, everyone's on the same page right now.
Yeah. This chapter is interesting. Like, it moves faster than a lot of the other stuff that kind of happens around it from, like, a writing perspective.
Yeah.
It's also, I don't know, because I'm mostly going on the audiobook for all my first passes, at least, this book we've kind of talked about before is interesting in that the audiobook doesn't have the chapter titles listed.
Right.
So I usually know the chapter number 2 title of where I'm starting and finishing, but like don't necessarily know the titles between. And for some reason, whenever it was like chapter 40, I think, 37.
Yeah.
Tanaran. I was like, he gets a chat. I don't know. Whenever they said Tanaran, I was like, oh. And then, you know, it was a pretty chill chapter. But there's a lot I want to talk about once we get to the throne room. But, you know, like in this little early part, I think it is interesting where Hadrian's like, all right, now we're going to wait a week. And then they're like, right this way, sir.
They're like, snap, snap. Yeah, absolutely no delay there to getting to the throne room, right? Sitting in the same spot. Karn has a record spinning. You know, there's this whole description of a record player. He's like this sort of like manual audio listening device with a horn coming out of it. Yeah. And it's also emanating from everywhere. Like, why is he doing this? So it's clear that our boy has Karn, our boy in this circumstance, I guess, has a fucking USB-C connector so that he can rip his vinyl records and then play them. You know,
very clear to me that it is a vinyl record on like a traditional, like very classic horn-based player. It's just he also has it hooked up to Bluetooth and it's playing through all the eyes. You know? Like,
he's just like, the quality is actually not that big of a deal to me.
Yeah,
I don't need the pops.
Is it gonna dip? Sure, but like at the end of the day, it's gonna be a little more compressed. I can hear the lead.
Yeah, right. Also, I just wanted to play it through all the speakers. You know, I've got this whole setup in my throne room. I'm gonna use it. Yeah. I'm not just using this for Friday movie nights. You know, I gotta use it.
Yeah, come on. I have 10,000 different speakers for surround sound. I gotta really make this work.
I presume he's jamming to like Megadeth or something like that
on the
vinyl
this
moment. Yeah.
He's playing some classic Earth music.
Yeah, well, exactly, right.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be so pretentious as to suggest that he'd be listening to Nine Inch Nails, although that would fit the vibe in the moment. But
yes, he's listening to that old Earth poet. I wanna fuck you like an animal.
Or just the Tron Ares soundtrack, you know? Like,
he's watching Tron Ares when they walk in.
Oh no. Oh no.
But like as a drone show, kind of. Like they're kind of projecting it collectively 3D style.
And again, Jared Leto is replaced by
with Robert Pattinson, but a still image.
It's just a still image.
Because that's the only version that survived.
Amazing. That said, Hadrian addresses him, which is very interesting. He kind of is coming up to him after this encounter from 2 days ago. And there's this sort of like really crazy power switch as Tanaran introduces itself in human tongue, something that Karn says he's never witnessed in his 15,000 years. which is a big and important deal, of course. As such, he engages with Tanaran only, basically, until the very end of this conversation, completely ignoring Hadrian and Volca for the most part, despite them chiming in with a couple of different recountings of events to fill in Karn's gap, since he's here. Tanaran recounts Emesh getting the coordinates from Aktarumu, and ultimately his goal to be reunited with his master is affirmed. That's really all he wants.
Sorry. I like the moment that Hadrian's like, I should probably say I'm not with the Empire anymore. And he's like, well, that might also undermine my ability to seem trustworthy. So he, like, shuts up, and then he's like, Tanaran, what do you want? What do you want? And he's like, I want to be reunited with my master. Do you want peace? I wish to be reunited with my master. Pretty fucking selling.
Oh!
Just give me back. It's fine.
Yikes! Yeah, I mean, it's also worthy to say that, like, he also can't be the one to negotiate for something like that, obviously.
Yeah.
But it does kind of paint a long game ploy.
So he says, "What do you want?" Not like, "What can you offer? What promises are you making?" Are you wanting to also figure out peace? I wish to go back to my master. Cool.
Which also. Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, that's directly telling, and Hadrian also notes that it's like, actually, I clearly can't read their expressions.
Yeah, he said it's like, holding discourse with a shark? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yike. Bad time all around. Friend Tanaran, friend-shaped? Maybe not friend... Not even really friend-shaped. Shaped like death.
shaped specifically like death and darkness with capital D's later.
Yeah. Friend eyes. Big black friend eyes.
big black round friend eyes that do blink weird.
Do they blink?
They blink strangely.
Okay.
But I think they blink like cat eyes. I believe that they've got the same sort of.
They blink, but they start from the middle. Oh, Jesus!
Oh.
It's like unfolds out like an umbrella and comes back in.
Who, like, straight out of is it? God, what was the name of the? Nope.
Oh my God! One of the most upsetting aliens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the eyes though.
Jean jacket, yeah.
Yeah, jean jacket, just the way that it moves is just the eyes.
It's just how CLs and eyes work. Cool, I'm going to think about that never again.
These terrifying horned demons, and oh my God.
Yeah. And they are digesting Glenn from The Walking Dead. Cool.
Cool. Glenn is Switch. Just kidding.
No! Don't say that.
So these yukajim, as the term is used, and as I used on you in our very first episode, by the way, I said yukajim, just kind of like under my breath. Very fun. I inserted a lot of like little linguistic dick jokes. It was kind of fun for the casual listener, but some call outs to different things, obviously. Are offered just simple compensation for their efforts. Basically, I'm just going to pay you. Karn, it really isn't interested until he appeals to his humanity somewhat, but more importantly, after the fact, after he aggravates him and gets him to step out of the chair, unplug his hoses, don his cape, and stand up as this motherfucker. He isn't really interested until he hears that, like, he wants to do this against the Chantry specifically. And the King in Yellow doesn't so much as offer Hadrian a chance, so much as not deny him one.
Yeah. Also, the standing up. That's such a scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and hold on for a second. I heard cheering outside. All right, I think they're quieter now. That might have gotten picked up. I don't know. But yeah, man, the standing up, the unplugging, and then the going into like manual breathing mode with the pistons and the shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he stood up, something I didn't know he could do.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know you could do that. So,
I thought you were just stapled to that chair.
I know, yeah. And then getting that moment where he's like, I'm doing this against the Chantry, and Karn is like legitimately surprised again. Not just intrigued, but like, oh, shit. You keep doing things I'm not expecting, and that's interesting. So.
Yeah, he is definitely intrigued by it, without a doubt.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on this negotiation conversation?
I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch, but my brain is only brethren.
The face of failure.
You've seen my autobiography.
Yes, mine as well. Wait, are you my co-author? I hired a ghostwriter.
Oh, I hired a ghostwriter. No,
Shit.
we've been ghostwriting each other's autobiography called The Face of Failure.
This is insane. So we then turn to a conversation between Volka and Hadrian, both sort of at a loss for what to do in the moment, obviously facing failure. Volka fills Hadrian in, saying that she can't reach out through the network's defenses to the ship, despite Hadrian's pleas, and his inability to say implant, which is a whole moment within this chapter. But this leads to an honest conversation between the two about how Hadrian is doing, all in all.
Yeah.
He's like, fine.
This is a kind of flirty section. I keep saying how, like, I don't think Valka's actually interested. This section is like, she might be flirting a little. Hadrian's doing more flirting, though, for sure.
Yeah, I think that, like, if we were to paint a relationship between them, it's a slow burn. Like, this is a, like, true friends to lovers pipeline sort of thing, if that's the way that this is going.
Maybe.
Well, and we do have hints that Volka's always there in the Brethren chapter. You know, like, we know that she's always there.
True. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I like, you know, like, this is them talking about what to do next. Should we take Octavia up on the offer? Like, what happened with you and Janan? Like, it's just a nice little kind of breakdown section of, like, actually touching on some normal emotional relationship shit that's going on. Not like, hey, by the way, the demons of legend exist.
Yeah, plot move forward, you know? Like, it's like, hey, we can take a second, breathe, talk about who we are. Exactly. Even though plot happen, you know?
Plot do be happening. There's a line in here that I really like, where Hadrian's kind of talking about, like, all these monsters, basically. And she's like Hadrian, I have this. Like, are you afraid of me? And he's like, you're the only thing here I'm not afraid of. And I thought that was cute.
Mm-hmm. Very cute.
Yeah.
It's especially cute, too, and I think this is where, like, you get into the more, like, wholesome side of their connection here, where she's like, this is our, like, opportunity to step away. Like, this is our moment that we have a path out. Maybe they could join with Octavia if they believe that that's the path, or maybe he just follows her as an assistant, and he, like, corrects and scoffs and is, like, bodyguard, and she, like, kind of reels back at that a little bit, understandably, defensively, for other reasons.
Hey, how about I just kill more guys when they're mean to you?
Yeah, you'd like that. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Right?
You stab people. You like this.
I'll do another challenge and another one. Duels all day.
Duels all the way down. They do get talking a little bit about some of the other things that Tanneran said, though, to diffuse that tension in the moment. Volka doesn't have any clue about what Actorumu actually is, as Tanneran had spoken about previously. Is it a person or a colony? Hadrian corrects and says that Cielson don't set up colonies. So she corrects and says, okay, a ship then. And Hadrian tries to live up to kind of that expectation of, like, filling in the details.
Yeah, I am definitely intrigued about what's going on with Actorumu.
Yeah.
Actorumu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Within this section, sounds like mostly just them trying to figure out if they should cut and run or not, but Hadrian's never going to do it. Like,
yeah, right. It's mostly them figuring that out, but, you know, there's, like, a little bit of, like, Anaraic, barbarian, you know, again, that pops up. But I can't help but, like, really appreciate some of the writing here, as he is sort of, like, again, falling for her, right? We both held our silence, but still comfortable in our lies. Still faintly I could detect the crushed flower smell of Naya's perfume, was glad that Volka could not place it. I feared to see judgment in those golden eyes, however unwarranted. Women are ever the judges of men, our jury, and though their hands seldom grasp the knife, are executioners. I think now that a large, quiet part of my motivations for seeking out peace and parley with the Cielsen came from my youthful desire in the court of Baleen Mataro and at Caliga before it to impress Volca. In our earliest meetings, she had thought me a butcher, then merely a cad. She was a demarchist, and her dislike for me was motivated by dislike of all hierarchs and hierarchy itself. She, who claimed to resent all class and privilege, resented me for mine. And just the way that it pushes him to, like, do more and be more. And so he becomes more, right?
Definitely. Yeah, it's interesting to see him actually, like, I don't know, form a little self-awareness and empathy based around trying to understand a person here, I guess.
And the extent to which he was doing this just for that reason. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's kind of one of those things where if you become a better person to impress a girl, then you're not really doing it for the right reasons, but you did still become a better person.
You did still become a better person, right? As long as you don't regress, you still improve.
Exactly, yeah. So
yeah. As those steps, yeah.
Is this... Is it in this section that we learned that she got robot eyes?
No, I think it's actually in the last section. It's in Tanaran.
Oh,
because they mention it. They mention it when
they're like, "How did you see that?" And
because Tanaran could see in the dark, and she could, and Hadrian couldn't.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting. Also, I just think of it in this section because it's a conversation with Valka. But yeah, very interesting that Valka has more going on than just the implant, which is fun. And Hadrian's kind of
more
like
behind his
forced
golden eyes
to come to terms with that as well, as he kind of reevaluates why she would dislike him and like what that means and how to be a better person for bad reasons. Yeah. I do like that quote that's up next, though.
The witch?
Oh, there's a quote that you wrote down here?
Oh, yeah. I just read the long version of that, but again, the best line of that quote is, "Women are ever the judges of men, our jury, and though their hands held them seldom..."
Hands held them seldom. Held them seldom. You know, by the Beatles.
I have not said this quote right every time that I've said it so far. I've fucked it up every stretch of the way, including when I was rereading it in that paragraph. "Women are ever the judges of men, our jury, and though their hands seldom grasp the knife, our executioners."
So it's a fun line. It's also like mildly incel-y, which I think just like works for Hadrian, you know?
Well, it's incel in context, right? Like that's kind of the point is he's like, I had to become a better person. It's within that context of that paragraph where it's like, yeah, of course you're fucking, this is what you're thinking.
Yeah, what a guy.
Yeah.
What a guy.
What a lad. Hadrian explains to Valka, though, the reality of what Vorgosos and Karn's offer is. Children to have themselves transferred into is sort of the deal, catching her up on those details. He also explains that he doesn't think that all of this was Karn's creation, so much as it was the Mericani eyes, maybe before, which leads them to plan to potentially manipulate this AI into freeing the Mistral, if there is such a thing, beneath the ruins.
Yeah, such a... this idea that like Karn, some of these things like Karn's pyramids stand out. They're not a part of this original place. Like there was a dome that was then frozen over, but that dome already existed. There's that sea. I think Mericanii is just a misunderstanding of the actual thing, but it's not American. It's Murican too, and it was just using. So they were probably developed in Murica too. Every time I read it, I'm like,
you're just like,
that's American too. Yeah, and it, you know, sometimes Hadrian is actually right.
Sometimes, rarely,
sometimes.
Okay, with that, we can get into our final chapter before our little drinky segment here. Yes. The last story. Valka and Hadrian make their way to the Orchid Stair, and they run into the fairy lights of Lewin, which is a natural and fun callback to Cat as well, and kind of a nice full circle moment. Hadrian even thinks about the sort of irony of finding them here.
Yeah, he was like, fireflies, that can't be real. And then now here they are. It's kind of sweet. I wish we maybe... And there's been a few times in these books I do wish whenever something comes up involving Kat, we spent a little more time with the memory of her, I guess. Like, but it's usually very glazed over, and it makes sense for Hadrian. Like, it's something that he just kind of like, he didn't. There's even mentions in that first book whenever he's talking about Kat. Like, I didn't even know if I wanted to tell you about her, but I thought I should. So it's just interesting how much he like pushes that away and pushes it down to the point where I think that like, in its own way, Kat affects him and is more important to him than all these other people he's willing to tell us about. But
yeah, it's more deeply impactful. It's also interesting because here we get this sort of like childlike glee with which we see these things as sort of like hopeful, and then later with Brethren we see similar-ish lights, and it's terrifying and horrifying. Or even Karn's eyes floating around. You know, like there's a lot of different comparisons here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see kind of the original organic, you know? I mean, in a lot of ways, that's interesting, too. Like, it still is just the representation of, like, pure biology, adapted technology, and then artificial intelligence is, like, kind of the scope of things that we see all kind of mirroring each other throughout this section, so...
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, even further, if we want to get into the reference herein, we're going through the Orchid Stair. He's descending into hell again. Like, he is now returning and walking down those steps, and here's one of them in this sort of new layer.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fresh reminder.
There's a nice quote about, I guess if I had read Dante, where he admits he didn't read Dante later. But we'll talk about that
in Brethren. Yeah. I pulled that quote, of course.
Every single fucking thing I want to talk about, you're like, yeah, that's in Brethren.
Yeah,
like, I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All of this is great build-up. It's so important. But, you should have maybe
contextualizes
read
so
up
much
to Brethren, and then we should have just done an episode on Brethren.
I did genuinely, I considered cutting, like, when I was doing this, I was like, should I just take a week and do, you know, Children of Saturn and Brethren? And I was like, is that too little?
I'd have been down.
I was unsure when I was going through and cutting the book. I was like, man, maybe in the future.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I just, man, the brain is...
hankering to talk about that
monster thing. With baby arms, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my name today.
Yeah, no, I did. Okay. Did you see mine?
No.
It's not that
Kross cigar.
Infinite sea of baby arms for Ramsey.
You know?
What's really fun, and I feel like I want to bring this up, so Beer is the Mind Killer is has been a sponsor and a great help for the podcast. You can get 10% off using his code Madness on his Etsy store and whatnot. He has one Sun Eater shirt, and I did get it for both of us in the hopes that it would be here for this episode. We will wear it in the future and for this book, but it is specifically yes. It is very specifically relevant. It is, and I'm going to text this image to you the way you can see it here. It is a clear reference, obviously.
Yeah. The Sword Art Order is great, but all the hands with all the eyes, that's such a good shirt.
Yeah, the 10,000 Eyes of Karn Sagara, you got the hands of Brethren, and then the Sword Art Order is obviously the namesake, or not the namesake, with the High Matter Blade cutting through is the family motto of the Marlowe house.
Damn. That's a good-ass shirt, but also, those hands. Fuck those hands.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It'll be there eventually. But
eventually.
Yeah. So, yeah, very cool. I pulled two quotes from this section. Obviously, this is a pretty straightforward one, but there are just some great quotes, some great writing. Joy is rare, a thing always of the now, existing without regard for time past or future, and without depending on them. Despite the long road and its troubles, despite the horrors that lay ahead, I've never forgotten her smile then or the sound of her voice. It was a perfect moment, cut as crystal from the cloth of time. I was only an observer, and so felt I should be elsewhere, as if I were intruding like a storm cloud on Midsummer's Eve.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves Volca.
Yeah. Imagine just walking. A second ago, he's like, I'm descending into hell. And now
Yeah,
he's like,
right.
"She pretty though." No, it's very poetic. It's very nice.
She real pretty. Yeah.
You know, just like every hopeless romantic in their freshman year of college, you think that you can just throw Midsummer's Eve out there and have it work, but we'll see.
Some can.
We'll see if it works out for him, you know?
Yeah, right. I also, a second one that he's reflecting on within the section is, sometimes I think that Edouard was right, that there is a God, and that he mocks me. Why else would Cat's Fairies mark the road to that last and dreadful gate? And why would the road to its door run through the last story I shared with her?
Yeah, this line I like a lot, and there's aspects to it that intrigue me, because it does make me think about some things that Brethren says about how time doesn't exist the same for all creatures. And it's like, was knowing that would be the last story with the most important person up to that point, and maybe ever in Hadrian's life, that was shared, led to way before this making sure that these fairy lights existed here so that Hadrian would know that this was the path he was supposed to be on. Like,
there's a good meta there, isn't there?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
and
but
where
it's
does,
also
where did
fucked.
Brethren get this information from? Yeah, it's also fucked up. Yeah. Yeah, there's some like also like interesting metatextual, like when you talk so closely about time, it's so easy to eventually, and like that sort of framing, it's so easy to feel the hand of the author creep into the story sometimes, right? Where it's like all these things had to be aligned in such a way where it's like, oh man, you've lost your conceit, especially in like deep sci-fi. And I think that Rocchio does a very good job avoiding that. Also because of the amount of framing, sometimes in distracting prose, sometimes because it's like small little tidbits here and there. I think he manages to either distract us from it being a problem.
Having a very interesting and a very poetic narrator who is also unreliable, sprinkling in truths, is a great way to have me never knowing what's coming next.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm like, are you waxing poetic? Are you lying? Or is this real? You know, like,
yeah. To what extent? To what extent?
yeah. And usually the answer is yes to all three. I'm waxing poetic truthfully about a lie.
Absolutely. To round out this chapter, eventually they find the next door. It opens for them easily, scarily. So, and they hurry down into the dark.
What could be down there?
What could be down there, Josh? I know what's down there. Our drinks.
Hey!
Hey!
I'm excited for mine this week.
Ooh, fun. What do you call this drink?
I like to call this one the FTW. It stands for the Fuck This Week. I've had a real long, real not great whole week. Just a whole week. A whole fucking week. So I made my favorite cocktail. Let's try and make myself feel better.
Whiskey?
So it is 4 ounces rye whiskey. 4 ounces rye whiskey.
I knew that was going to be the answer. that was good.
Yeah. So I made the FTW, the Fuck This Week. It is 4 ounces of rye whiskey.
Hell yeah.
What did you make, Kross?
Before we move on to my cocktail, what was your beverage of choice? Was that a high noon that you were having for this?
Yeah, we're rocking a high noon because I can't work out right now, so I can't drink beer.
Totally fair. Be real. Yeah.
Because fuck this week.
Yeah. Again, fuck this week. Totally fair.
Yeah.
I am having. So I don't have any. What the fuck is it called? What's the like wine that's typically used in cocktails? Why am I
Like
not Amaro, but the obvious one?
the wine, like sweet vermouth.
Yes, vermouth. Thank you. Dear God, I was like, what? I don't have any vermouth at the moment, but I was like, I wanted a Negroni. That's easy. I did have a bottle of open white wine in the fridge, and I was like, when was this from? Who cares? And I,
You had a bottle of white vinegar in the fridge, yeah?
you know, I air pumped it because I'm not so dumb for myself. And I was like, you know what? We're gonna try to approximate a Negroni. So what I did is I took this sweeter white wine. And I use an ounce of that. Usually Negroni's 1 to 1 to 1 ratio, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I did 1 ounce vodka, and then I did, because I also didn't want to use any of the gins that I had, because I was like, I don't know if this is going to turn out. So I was not 100%. So I went with an ounce of vodka, a half an ounce of green chartreuse, a little splash of maraschino to like be my one there. Campari, 1. Got it. We're good there.
Yeah.
And then I did 1.5 of this wine. And then I did 4 spritzes of absinthe, just to like kind of round out the whole profile. This is perfect. Yeah. This is delightful. This is incredible.
It's Negronish.
Yeah, it's Negronish. Sure. It's adjacent.
It's so funny. So to highlight on the fuck this week, the drink, not the week. I had something else in mind, and I just didn't have the willpower or time to go pick up the one thing I needed, which was vermouth. I was just gonna make an Americano.
Oh yeah, sweet.
Which is it's just sweet vermouth, Campari, and soda water. You know. But then I was gonna do some food coloring and some shit and make it pink. Specifically, it was gonna be like the fluid of the
amniotic,
the amniotic fluid. And I was gonna name it because it's just an Americano. I was gonna name it the Americani.
That makes sense.
Americani, you know. And then I never had a chance because the week kept being bad, and so instead we're having the fuck this week, which I still think is kind of fitting for the setting. I feel like, or for the section, I feel like Hadrian is in a similar mental headspace to me.
He just needs a stiff one.
Point.
Yeah.
He just, but he would hate it because it's not wine.
Very true. It's one of those fire spirits.
I know for a fact Hadrian does not like.
One
spirits, any of them. Coffee, any of them. Tea, any of them. Fucking carne sagara whenever he's hot.
Any of them.
Apparently he's not down. Any of them. Damn, how did I not get my own?
I don't know.
You
it was right there. I thought
perfect.
You had it. Yeah.
Any of them? Damn, yeah. That's actually hilarious. I'm gonna
retroactively take that one. Yeah.
Yeah. How did I set it up perfectly for myself and not land the plane?
I thought you had the D-ball. Yeah. I was like, no, son, I got this, and popped it out for you.
Any of them? Oh man, you want to talk about books?
Real quick, I just want to bring it
what's
up
your beer?
Because it's a relevant beer, of course. Flesh and Bone Tangerine IPA from KCBC. Lovely beer that I specifically have been saving for this episode, just because it's wraithish. It reminds me, for whatever reason, it's evocative. It's super tasty. Yeah.
Also,
delightful.
One of my favorite Killers songs, which is an unpopular opinion. So.
I wonder.
It's from Battleborn, which I think is their best album.
I love
Most
Battleborn.
People ignore that album.
I really liked it, but my buddy and I, Adam, of whom has been on the podcast, guest numerous times, he also really liked Battleborn when it came out. But he was he's bigger Sam's Town. I think it's hard to not be a Hot Fuss, like, I don't know.
I get so many. I can respect Hot Fuss. I have so many people who like their best album, Sam's Town, and I get it.
I don't. Personally,
Hot Fuss. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So, Hot Fuss is their best album that doesn't sound like the Killers, and Battleborn is their best album that does sound like the Killers.
Yeah.
And that's just
the most recent record too. Well, wait, hang on. The mid 2020s record was also great. I forgot.
The one with like the cloud painting thing on the front.
Yep.
What was it called? Yeah.
Almost
not Wonderful. That's a mid album, but it's decent.
What the hell am I thinking of? Why can't I remember?
It's like Exploding the Great Unknown or some bullshit like that. Like I can't think of the name, but we do have to actually figure that out.
Right.
The episode cannot continue until I know the
album. Imploding the Mirage.
Hey, I said Exploding the Great Unknown. That's not that far off.
Yes, so close.
From Imploding the Mirage. Yeah. Imploding the Mirage was really good.
It just reminded me of if you took the Killers...
Because it kind of felt like Battleborn a little.
It did. It also reminded me if you slammed the Killers and Death Cab for Cutie together.
Very Death Cab.
It had a very interesting energy. I really liked it.
But around the same time, Death Cab released Kintsugi, and that was better.
Kintsugi was.
I don't know if that's the name of the album or the song.
I think, right? Wasn't Kintsugi?
I feel like it was in the 2020s area. Am I wrong? I could be totally wrong.
And the only reason I know this, so Kintsugi came out in 2015.
Really? Damn, was that early? Shit, never mind.
Thank You for Today came out in 2018 because that was the year that I left for New York, and I got it as a gift from a friend.
Oh, okay.
And that one sticks out in my mind. But then they did this, like, they did an EP thing. I think it was like Georgia or something like that is what they called it.
Hey, man, I lived in Fresno until 2022. Years don't exist over there.
Asphalt Meadows was the 2022 record. So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Man, that's crazy.
And I think they've got a new one coming out this year that comes out in June. So,
do you think there will be piano with some riffy guitars and some jazz drums? And do you think he's going to say stuff like, "We were waiting by a subway station, and you never even looked my way"? You know?
Yeah, exactly like that. Actually, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Except for maybe.
Pretty sure that's how you make Death Cab songs.
Maybe it would be a subway station at this point because it's a little overwritten. He would have been like an airport hallway.
Yeah.
You know, and you never looked my way. And then he'd be like,
we were waiting at a subway station, in an airport, by the seaport, by the bay.
By the bay. Yeah, right.
Yeah, there you go.
The album is called "I Built You a Tower," so you know it's very
Okay, yeah, for sure.
very Death Cab.
Ben Gibbard, I love you. I think you're very good.
Never change.
I think that I always understand what you're gonna do, and I like that.
You are predictable, and I love that.
And look, you got to spend some time, love, with me. But
Yeah.
all right, we got to talk about this book. But I do have to know your favorite Death Cab album.
Ooh.
Because it says a lot about a person. And I have two answers. I'm always torn.
I mean, it's hard to not, like, absolutely love transatlanticism, right?
Transatlanticism is, like, the right answer and the answer I want to say, but if I'm real with myself,
my favorite...
it's Narrow Stairs.
Narrow Stairs is incredible. Plans is also awesome. Plans gets written off a lot because it's the first record. My favorite record is probably "Thank You for Today" because I have so much sentimentality connected to it. It was like a go home, you know, or like leaving home record too. So it felt like leaving friends and everything else behind. And like, there's a song on that stands out to me, which is 40 in Punk, I think, 60 in Punk, 60 in Punk, final track on the record, and it's just like, is this who I will be? You know, as like a reflection point, and I would just.
It's so interesting that Ben Gibbard thinks he's punk.
Yeah, right. He's writing it for all the dads who think that they're
Ben,
punk. Yeah.
You literally have like a classically trained jazz drummer. You're playing piano sitting down for most of your shows, and you look like every single English professor I've ever had. Like, I don't know that you're punk.
Yeah. I don't know. So I'm desperately torn, but I do think that
when your punkest song is Expo 86 or Crooked Teeth, I don't know if we're rocking into that era. You're definitely cool. I don't know if you're punk.
Yeah. It was just such a good year for so many reasons, but it was the year that I can go on music tangents for forever, so I need to cut myself off here, but I'm going to finish this thought. It was the year that the lead singer of Frightened Rabbit died. And they were very close between Death Cab, Frightened Rabbit, and Manchester Orchestra. They worked on a bunch of projects together. Ben Gibbard and Scott Hutchinson and Andy Hull all did a lot of work together. And so the two of them, Ben and Andy, were just devastated and were like, they released a bunch of covers of Frightened Rabbit songs. And so that accompanied the rest of it. And it meant a lot. It sank deep.
To end out this thing, just because you brought up Frightened Rabbit, and this is always a weird thing that gets weirder every year. It sucks whenever one of your favorite fucking pieces of media gets ruined by someone being a piece of shit to the point where you can't actually enjoy it anymore.
Yeah.
Because that was Chuck for me, which is how I got introduced to Frightened Rabbit.
I know. I feel exactly your pain.
And like, look, if it came out that Casey was a piece of shit, duh.
Yeah, right.
But Chuck?
Yeah.
Chuck is starring in a movie with fucking Khan. Like, what's his name? Guy who got kicked out of Marvel for beating women.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors, produced and directed by Ben Shapiro for the Daily Wire.
Yeah, man.
Now I have to exist in this world now, where some of my favorite music I found was from a perfect show about like leftist ideals, basically.
Dude, I can't believe that we haven't bonded over this at all at any point, because like absolutely same. Obviously, my backwards walk from Chuck was like in that, was it a season finale or a mid-season finale? I can't remember.
I think it was a mid-season finale.
Devastating. I remember like rewinding it and listening to that song a couple of times in that episode because I was like, holy shit. And
that's the like can't find love in a hole. Is that the
can't find love in a can't find love
god damn like so good. Such a good show. Such a shame.
Going through my backwards walk, running with no shoes and socks.
Bro. So, all right, we can move on.
That record is my breakup record. If I go through a breakup, I'm listening to Frightened Rabbit, specifically the Midnight Organ Fight. Oh, my God.
I just have to bring this up. God, we're just going to talk about music for too long. There's a song that comes on a lot, like, fucking in grocery stores or at restaurants. It's a pop radio song, but It Ends Tonight by the All American Rejects.
Oh my god, and what a great song.
I have such a distinct memory of hyping myself up to break up with my junior high girlfriend to that song. I chickened out. But every time it comes on, I'm back in my bedroom in junior high, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. I can do it. I chickened out. She broke up with me like 2 days later. She sent a friend to talk to my friend.
Oh, no.
All right, the Garden of Everything.
The Garden of Everything.
We then come to a strange garden.
Strange garden.
That our characters find themselves in. Hadrian reflects on all of the different symbols, Karn's familiar eye, and the similarity of the trees to the trees shit.
Now it's like, it's very unclear how much of what I do is actually improv until you read my fucking writing, where it's like, these are fragments at best.
All right, I'm just going to read it word for word.
Okay.
Here we go. We come strange garden, bad character, weird, find themselves tree big, tree small, tree life, tree knowledge.
But also Merlin tree.
Also, Merlin tree, Merlin knowledge, Merlin tree, Merlin magic, question mark, underneath, no cups. Cups, to cups, left there, he sees one, follows, child, maybe cups, maybe child, loses door, pneumatic hissing.
Pneumatic hissing door, yep.
Mm-hmm. That is not what Kross wrote, but it's not far off.
They're more connective tissue there, but yeah, it's not as far off as you might believe. That said, like,
we hit a garden, there's a tree, it's weird, and there's maybe kids.
It's interesting. I really like the setup of this scene in this chapter, right, with this like very strange exploration. It feels like we're almost like Alice in Wonderland, falling into this very different world, you know, kind of beneath and tumbling down the rabbit hole after we pass the Lewin fairies. And everything there. Oh, I forgot to mention this about the Lewin fairies. Lewin is a Welsh word generally, and I think it's generally spelt L-L-E-W-Y-N, or very close,
like Lewin Davis.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting that he went the other way. Obviously, he's referring to fairy, which is a naturally sort of like Welsh, Celtic, Irish, Scottish sort of thing. But to spell it out phonetically as opposed to spelling it out, you know, linguistically is interesting.
Yeah.
I found that.
And, you know, he talks about Sid Arthur a lot. Some things just got a little lost.
That's a good point. I actually never made that. I didn't even think about that comparison. It is just like a subtle, okay, yep.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that one thing you probably know more about than I do is the world post the Americanii War, where there's a destruction of infrastructure. It feels like possibly we go back to an oral history for a little while as things rebuild before we reinstitute like technology and printing and things like that. Maybe some very old Earth things exist still, but it does seem like we maybe hit like in the history of this world, it feels to me like post-Americanii, we maybe go back to almost a Mad Max future before we get to the stars future, and then we get into space hierarchical fascism future.
I think it actually has already jumped to space hierarchical fascism.
Well, that's where we are. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
That's where we end
William
up.
wins,
but, like,
you know what I mean? Like, there is a god emperor, so like...
See, I actually didn't know if William won or not, based on this conversation, so thanks for the spoiler.
No,
pitch.
we'll have that conversation. I'm just saying, like, it seems as though, like, William has an empire, right, and, like, struck out against...
Right, well, there's an empire, but then we do hear about, like, like your King William buried under the rubble of Los Angeles.
All right, we're going to get to it.
There's so much to talk about in the last chapter, Crossland. And now here we are talking about Death Cab for Cutie, and I need to know which Death Cab album would be Brethren's favorite.
I need to get you involved with... Anyway, I'm going to mention this after, when we're done. I'm not going to talk about it now.
Moving on.
That said, I do like kind of the scene that we get with the teacups and the trees and sort of this like reference to life and knowledge, and then also Merlin's tree, and also like, could this be considered like pulling a sword from like? Also, Brethren gives him a sword that fell into the lake later. That's a Merlin kind of thing. Is Brethren Merlin? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to talk more about that in a minute. But, like, this all connects, down. We don't talk about Merlin or Siddhartha from here forward. Entering into this dark room, though, leaving that scene behind, we find a menagerie of foreign creatures, and even some creatures that feel homunculus adjacent. This sort of, like, weird statuesque thing with breasts that seems to be staring, but also have this, like, fleshy touch, almost stonish in some ways, discovering that this is more of a dormitory for the children. These are the gardens.
Yeah. I think I blocked this chapter out twice. You said that? I'm like, that did happen. We did get that description, didn't we?
Well, because you're like, it's a zoo. They, like, literally call it a zoo. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay, here are all these funny, weird creatures. I wonder if they will ever become relevant. And then the next chapter goes, by the way, have you ever imagined a giant crab man taking care of little baby dudes? You ever thought about that?
We only get this from Hadrian's perspective, and we'll talk about it more in next chapter. I got thoughts about Crab Man. But yeah, no, we enter a fucking menagerie of weird shit, and it feels like these kids are being more raised on, like, the old school upsetting cartoons. This is more Dinosaurs We're Back than it is Moana, for sure. This is Professor Screw-Eye getting eaten alive by crows. That was just something that gave me nightmares as a kid. I don't know if anybody else was right there with me, but
I'm a Secrets of Nim, nightmare kind of show. Yeah. So like, there's some interesting visuals that we get of all these different bugs. We get an idea of like what exactly is out there. You mentioned tardigrades last week. There's this whole exhibit that's tardigrades.
There they are. We found them. I knew they were here. I knew tardigrades made it. If anyone was going to make it, it was going to be.
That might have only been in the Devil's Cut. But we did talk about tardigrades. Yeah.
I was talking about tardigrades. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the tardigrades that exist on our planet right now also probably existed, those same tardigrades, not offspring, those same tardigrades probably existed when dinosaurs existed, and they will exist when Hadrian exists. 'Cause they're tardigrades, baby. They don't die.
They don't.
They don't do nothing but exist forever.
Very true. That said, in this moment, Hadrian is also seized by another vision, pressing him forward, and while he tells Valka the truth, with much fear in his heart, concerning Imesh and the response that she had there, he can feel her eyes cutting into his back, thinking him mad, and says it out loud to her.
There's an interesting thing here that I didn't think about until right now. Hadrian never really very specifically speaks about knowing that he's being watched physically. He always says that he knows when a camera is looking at him. So having the understanding that her eyes are robotic and now suddenly he can sense them.
That's interesting. An interesting
comparison. Always knows when a camera lens is pointed at him, and she has robot eyes, and now all of a sudden he can sense when she's looking. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, the only other chapter I have a lot of stuff to say about, frankly, because like all of this is very good for the record. All of this is great. We mostly want to give space to talk specifically in Brethren, but the Tree of Life is fucking sick. Especially
the Tree of Life is a good fucking chapter
with the Children of Saturn. Like these two chapters rule. So we then move into the horror chapter of the week, the creepy chapter, as Hadrian and Volca enter another room, this sort of dim orange glow from the ceiling, noting these glass bell jars like fruit the size of sarcophagi hung from ribbed arches, which grew from the pillars like the branches of unholy trees, so that we stood in another sort of garden. As Hadrian looks up and comes to realize that in those sacks, almost ripped straight out of the Matrix in my imagination.
Yeah, very much so.
That they are all Karn Sagara.
All right, there are things in this where I'm like, God, that's so Matrix, and this is one of them. Or, oh, that's like so Terminator with some Americani stuff that's mentioned. We're going to talk about it when we get to Brethren, but shoot me in the head if Christopher Rocchio didn't play Halo. We're just going to talk about that later.
Oh, yeah, fair point. Fair point. That's interesting. Not the same, but similar. I understand.
Brethren is crazy, but it's... oh my God, I'm forgetting the name. The guy who creates and is...
Yeah, the Flood.
The Flood, yeah.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the... Is it the Overmind? No, the Overmind's the name of the thing in StarCraft.
Something like that. Anyways,
It'll
doesn't
come to
matter.
me. Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of those references where I'm like, I can picture the Matrix of it. Also, like, I know that it's not how it's described, but because it's described as like a tree in the fruit, I do picture them. He says the size of sarcophagi, but he doesn't necessarily say they're the shape of, and we can see everything. I picture like literal, like fairy light pink jars hanging from like these tube branches. In a fun way where they're all like at different levels. And it's
yeah. I imagine.
You know, whenever you go into a dive bar and they have all the different like string lights on the roof, it's like that, but they're all fucked up babies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
super fucked up babies.
Like I'm in Aero Club, but those are all clones. You know, like so. Aero Club's in San Diego. Check it out if you're there.
Like a cluster of fish eggs. You know what I mean? Where it's just like it's a pile.
Ooh,
it's like gross.
I hate that.
Yeah. Hanging from the ceiling, right? At different heights.
It's like, ooh, forbidden sushi.
Yeah, super.
You know, whenever you top your hoses with roe.
Yeah, exactly. I did want to bring this up earlier. There was a really interesting, and I think that this is the correct scene. He's talked about it a couple of times. You've not seen Blade Runner 2049, correct?
No.
Okay.
I've seen Blade Runner,
Okay.
the original, 3 times, trying to figure out which version I'm supposed to watch. I have finished it once, and I don't remember which version it was.
Director's cut is ideal. Everything, or the final cut's fine.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't really matter.
There's so many.
Just not the theatrical cut. That's the biggest
I think I started with the theatrical. I didn't finish it. I do think I finished the director's, and I don't think I finished the...
The final cut adds a couple of scenes. It's not crazy. Not necessary.
Fair enough.
That's also the movie that like popularized director's cuts, which is fascinating, by the way.
Interesting.
That was like the first one in so many ways. That said, I did want to zoom back just real quickly to the Gorgon, all the way back there real quick. The moment in which Naya's clothes are hologram is one of the moments that Rocchio contests that clearly he and Denis Villeneuve had the same idea at the same time. Because when he was writing this book and he had submitted it, that was already in, and he was pissed off in the movie
2049,
theater, and he got up and left. I think is the like thing. He loves the movie, but he got up and he was just like fuck. He was so angry.
So there's like someone who's hot and their clothes are a hologram, and then they go away.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna be back. Actually, I gotta go watch a movie.
That's 3 hours. Wait.
I'll see you at midnight.
Midnight. That's 3 in the morning.
Oh, for you.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's 9 right now for me, so I guess that's...
Yeah, right. Ow, pain. One of my favorite movies, though. Very good.
I need to watch it. I have a thing where I watched Blade Runner 3 times, finished it once in like high school, and I have not circled back, and I refuse to watch 2049 until like I don't think you, as an adult, watch Blade Runner.
Sure.
And I know you don't have to, but I am a completionist.
I think that that's sort of the intent, though, is for it to be a distant memory almost. Like it's meant to be like a... You're meant to not remember, almost. Or like for it not to be the primary thing.
You know, I watched Mad Max Fury Road and Furiosa and fucking loved both of them and have never seen any other Mad Max movies.
Crazy. So. But also, like, great movies. 2049 stands its own that way. But also, yeah. Anyway, yeah. You need to know no more. That said, we'll get back into this chapter. We were talking about all the other movie stuff, and I was like, that's a call out.
That's right
specifically.
That's so funny though that he was. That happens to me with D&D and Matt Mercer all the fucking time. I will have it in my notes for next week's session. He'll do it on that week's episode. I mean, not now because he's not DMing, but you know, like all through campaigns 2 and 3, I was DMing and be like, I got this fucking good idea, and then that would do it the episode like the day before it came out, and I know my players watch Critical Role, and I'd be like,
gotta change.
Well, I guess we're gonna do another carnival.
You want a shopping episode, folks?
Exactly. Yeah. It is like a terrible feeling, but also kind of validating whenever somebody you consider so much better than you at a medium comes up with the same idea at the same time, and you're like, damn, kudos.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good pat on the back, you know?
Yeah. I don't know how Christopher Rocchio feels about Denny Villeneuve.
I don't remember the specifics about his exclamation. I think he either mentally or like shouted or like said something in the theater seeing it.
Come on!
Yeah. Yeah. It's in a couple of different interviews, so I know that it's out there. But
that's so funny.
Yeah. He also didn't specifically at the time. He didn't reference the scene, but now readers obviously know.
Now we know. Yeah.
So, we're interrupted, though, as they're exploring and inspecting the specimens by the sound of a classical English song, the ancient language of the Scholiasts and Americanii, according to Hadrian. The first time he's made that connection, for the record. London Bridge is falling down, and the terrifying visage of Father Calvert comes into view as Hadrian compares it as more horrifying than the war machines of mankind. I do want to bring up, before we hop into the craziness of all of this, the lyrics are all correct, which is interesting because you would expect them to maybe have some linguistic drift. This is completely original without anything being wrong.
So I think that harkens back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
This is something that exists through verbal storytelling rather than written storytelling. It exists written now, but if the verbal storytelling is strong enough, even
Calamity, if we want to call it that. Yeah.
Or even in our culture, like this is something that comes from written, or from spoken, pre-written. Mm-hmm. Not pre-written as in the ability to write, but pre-written as in this is something that was expressed and spread through verbal storytelling, right? This nursery rhyme. Mm-hmm. Nobody hears London Bridges for the first time, like by reading it or hearing a recording, right?
Right. Yeah, fair.
So the strength of the verbal storytelling expands past whenever we lose some of our written history, in my opinion, on this. It was another thing that kind of made me think about like that. Okay, so verbal things lasted stronger than written things. Written things come out wrong. Verbal things stay the same.
I totally get that. I really like that as a comparison point. I would just, as my own counter, not as like a counter argument to that, this makes me question instead how old Father Calvert is.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that.
Like less more specifically about like what exactly like linguistic drift, which I think is real, but like how old is this guy? To begin with.
Is so interesting.
But we do know that like from the timeline and everything else that we have that like Karn Sagara wasn't around when Earth fell. Right.
No.
And that is, we can then maybe presume that like Father Calvert isn't older than him because then legends would probably exist, right? Unless maybe like it's a weird question.
We also I feel like we're not necessarily given a straight answer about whether Father Calvert is a creation and servant specifically of Karn Sagara or of the Brethren.
Yeah, I mean, he refers to him strictly as priest and, like, bats him out of the way sort of in its own way.
Yeah, it would be interesting if Father Calvert was here before Karn got here as, like, a pet kept by the Americanii that exists within this world.
Yeah. Tough to say, then.
From the old world. That's interesting. That's super interesting.
Yeah, tough to say. To your point, though, I think that you're 100% correct that those linguistic things would survive more easily and also like experience less drift because also drift in translation exists. This is being said in the original language.
You never translate, it always adjusts with the language. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Both angles, I think, can coexist.
Which, look, at the end of the day, it's not
that bridge
Rocchio's fault that Ring Around the Posy got turned into Ring Around the Pussy, and now it's just a way different song.
He's trying not. He didn't put it in. He didn't put it in.
He was like, I can't.
I already put in a one-eyed soldier joke.
I do know in the lore that's what happened, but he can't be singing that.
Yeah.
did you watch Ryan Gosling's SNL? This is the last tangent I'll do before we get to the...
No, I did not.
I never thought I'd get to see Ryan Gosling twirl rat tail ponytail while saying pussy.
Amazing.
Anyways, continuing on.
I do want to bring this up, and I am... Josh, when I say that I almost spent the 2 hours that I had between like completely finishing everything and putting the finishing touches on this and like our recording, going back through BioShock physically to find this line, because I know it's in the beginning. I know it's pretty early. It's either in BioShock 1 or BioShock 2, and I'm just not quite fucking sure which one. I almost did, because to me, the line where Calvert becomes alerted, where he says, "Oh, what's this then?" The voice, deep as distant thunder, planted hooks deep in my back. Intruders! Intruders in my garden? Is straight out of one of the BioShock games. And
I believe
like,
it.
it is 100% out of one of the two of them. There are a few games that I've played through more times than BioShock front to back. Those are lines. I just don't
know where.
Remember where. And I did spend
I will say
30 minutes crawling through YouTube videos to try to find it. I know it's
so
there.
I have never played BioShock.
Really?
Any of them. Not a single one. Not a second.
One of my
Every made character.
The first game is one of my favorite games. The second game is incredible. Infinite's fine. But
you know what's funny? And I think that this is... Whenever Infinite was coming out, it intrigued me enough to want to go back and start playing them. Because just like visually, I liked how Infinite looked.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah. It's also a fun game, don't get me wrong. But
and then everybody hated Infinite, and I was like, all right, I'll never play the series. Because I was like, gonna go back and play one, and then
worthy
talk shit on Infinite, and I was like, all right, I'm done. I mean, this was back then.
Yeah.
I'm me now. I'd be more down, but
it's a worthy game series to play, and also it hasn't like dated itself or like worn thin. In part because of like art style, and also because of like everything else that they did. This is a tangent within a tangent, but also it's a reference that Rockio was making. I'm 100%.
Yeah. So what I'll say is, whenever he said that, I didn't have like a specific thing it was pinging. I'm like, that's from something, but it did sound the most like a pre-scripted line from like a horror escape room.
Yeah,
like
right.
Just something about it where I'm like, that's ripped from a haunted house. Like this is such like a classic, ideal, like gets a rise out of you. I don't want to say cheap, but like kind of cheap horror line. It's just like intruders in my garden is such an introduction to a horror character that you should feel like horrified by. And
again, Rockio's our age. Like all this shit came out at the same time, right? So it's important. That makes me sad every time that I say it, but also because he's doing much better in so many different ways and is so talented. We love you dearly.
Well, it's okay. Stephen King wrote his first book at 55, right?
Nope.
Oh no. But somebody might have.
Plenty did. The woman who wrote Lessons in Chemistry published, I think, at 63 or 64. So important.
And did she die with or without money?
No, she's doing great.
Okay, cool.
She's alive. She's written another book, I think. I don't think it's out yet, but...
Hey, the important thing to remember is that some people who wrote bangers in their 20s died broke. So,
Very true.
It's better to do it later.
Lord Byron. All right, anyway. Fucking got him. That said, yeah, like it's akin with all of these other references, and so it struck me in this read. I was like, hang on, this is a BioShock reference. But also within the scene, to your point, it feels like it's ripped out of like a B horror movie, because this scene feels like it's a B horror movie, but then it ratchets it up and becomes so real, and then
it's interesting, and this isn't a B thing. Because like
not the B movie.
I don't feel like there's like a lot of flowers down here at this point.
Fuck off! I knew it was a B movie joke. I saw that 10,000 miles away, Josh. Can't get one on me.
No, there's a weird thing that it makes me think of. It feels like it would exist in Act 2 of Baldur's Gate 3. And I know that that's so specific, but it feels like it. Like, I could just imagine walking into a room and some weird, fucked up, Larian horror design creature turns and goes, intruders in my garden. And then I have to use my bard skills to convince him to kill himself. Like, it's so specific, but it's what it feels like, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, an incredibly great character introduction, horrific in design, and again, the reference from Hadrian as he compares it to these ancient, horrifying war machines that he experiences in the future, that feels like those are ripped out of 40K. He's like, this is way scarier than anything else that I physically saw man ever create. Like
what I picture in this creature is a more metallic version of, because what I'm picturing right now is very like bio. Did you see, because this is kind of a B movie, but it's an important movie to me that I actually fucking love, that I watched way too much as a kid. Did you see Lost in Space, like the remake from
early 2000s? Yeah, with Gary Oldman. You know,
Gary Oldman's spider creature.
Dude, that's one of my favorite movies.
I fucking love that movie, and also it pisses me off that Matt LeBlanc wasn't an action star, because that's like his only role like that ever, I think, and he kills it. And I also realized I'm into like alt baddies with short hair because of that movie. Which, she's a child, but I was younger than her. So
right, at the time. Right. It was a little different. Yeah. No, I constantly, like, and I loved just that movie in particular, and that's my Lost in Space reference for everything. But, like, my dad also bought me the retro, like, Christmas ornament that would do the Danger Will Robinson. That's, like, the birth of my interest in sci-fi, is, like, that movie, Alien,
that movie
Star
changed
Wars.
my, like, brain chemistry. It's
the little guys, the little critters that you skitter around the ground. They're terrifying.
Yeah, something about that Lost in Space movie, I think, like, maybe if I watch it again, I won't think it's as good as it was. It's been a long time. But, like, that movie stands out to me as one of the movies that, like, shifted the way I think about storytelling and sci-fi, specifically. So I was such a fantasy boy before it. That's like one of the first sci-fis I was like, besides Star Wars, where I was like, oh, this shit's sick. So, anyways, that's what I'm picturing here, is the weird spider creature that Gary Oldman becomes.
Super fair. I feel like I'm the inverse, where I got like shifted into fantasy from sci-fi. Although I read way more fantasy, I just watched more sci-fi. But
I watched Star Wars, and then other than that, fantasy.
Star Wars, Aliens, Blade Runner, Predator, fucking everything.
And Star Wars is such an in-between. Like, you could say that's a sci-fi or a fantasy, depending on where you are.
Yeah,
and I just happen to go more Lord of the Rings, Narnia, even things that are like in our real world. Last Samurai was like my favorite movie when I was 11 years old.
So you're referencing, though, within the Last Samurai is incredible, fun movie.
Not a fantasy, but
yeah, very fun movie. Kind of a fantasy, kind of a white power fantasy.
Kind
anyway,
of, yeah, yeah, a little white guy fantasy,
like a little bit of a Anyway, but in the context of this with Lost in Space, are you talking about specifically the like Gary Oldman time demon near the end of the movie, like the
like weird guy? The weird spider thing he becomes?
Yes.
At the end.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely, I see that.
And I will say, I think I picture that more as what we learn he looks like a little later.
Yeah.
Whenever he's all spindly and shit. But, like, I don't know, for some reason, it's not necessarily that I pictured that exact design, that exact character, but I did picture Gary Oldman as this.
Totally. Yeah, I am 100%
Gary Oldman is playing,
no matter what.
Like,
Father Calvert is played by Gary Oldman. And that's perfect because it's like a couple of scenes. You're only paying him a little bit of money to do the big work.
Yeah. And you know he'd love it.
And it's going to be a standout episode of this TV show. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. Gary Oldman gets to show up, do some crazy shit. And if he's not available, I do think
Willem Dafoe?
that Ewan McGregor could kill it, because I feel like he's Gary Oldman light, kind of, at this point in his career.
I was saying Willem Dafoe, but I'll take Ewan McGregor.
Well, hold on. Here's the thing. If you can't afford...
It's not about
Gary
affording.
Oldman.
It's about his time.
You can't afford...
No, it's about his time, you know.
Okay, yeah. I mean, sure, I'll take Willem Dafoe, but I think I would rather Willem Dafoe as Karn Sagara. and Ewan McGregor if we can't get Gary Oldman.
I was gonna say Willem Dafoe's too short, but you could totally make.
Why
him
does it matter? You only
matter.
It's
right.
green screen past here.
Past his shirt collar. Interesting. I love all of these so much. I do want to continue to talk about this so that we can talk about Brethren.
Sorry. Yes.
No,
please.
it's good. It's good. Also, like a great little side tangent because again, this does feel like it's ripped out of like a B horror movie in a good way, like in the best way. It's just so great,
complimentary.
Yeah, absolutely. Hadrian goes back into this sort of fight. His sword bounces off of the thing, and we see for the first time the High Matter Blade be beaten by adamant, which is a very fun moment.
We've gotten our vibranium. We've gotten our adamantium. We now have the metal. That's going to matter later.
Mm-hmm. At some point, yeah. And we've seen it in action. There's a distraction from Valka, including shooting a couple of the children. Let's call it as it is. She killed some clones, but like...
Look, she killed some babies, but they were babies that were being bred to be born to be killed. So, like, did she put them out of their misery? I don't know.
Josh, let me just put it this way. Isn't that every baby? Every baby is born to be killed by its life, right? Like, so what did Valka really do? She just sped it up?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. What's going on with Karn that's so fucked up is it's a person whose own ego is trying to recreate its own genetics so that it can re-experience life from a person that has shared characteristics. Oh,
and memories.
That's just children.
Yeah. That is just children. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason I'm probably not having kids. I feel like it's kind of fucked up. She shoots some babies out of some jars. Mm-hmm. And, they were in jars, and then they weren't. They didn't know any better.
Hadrian manages to take out one of the legs as well, kind of sweeping underneath through one of the ball joints.
The leg.
Finding, exactly. Sweeps the leg, finds it. Does this, like, cool flip off the blade, turn on the blade kind of thing, which is fun. To which
I love that. Sorry, we have to do one more side tangent about Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I want to preface with I can't remember the specific thing that brought this lore up.
Sure.
But there is a thing in Star Wars where no one ever does that, where they turn off the lightsaber and turn it back on, because it's an illegal move. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so funny that was just added afterwards, because enough fights happened that would have been way easier if someone just did that. That they were like, oh, but it's not honorable.
Well, it's not a part of the 7 forms, right? So that's sort of the thing.
But the 7 forms didn't exist whenever that still would have made sense to do.
No, for sure. The 7 forms were added in, like, the...
Clone Wars era, yeah.
Yeah, but it was specifically in the books that were being written at the time, so it wasn't even like that. But yeah. It would have made way more sense in, like, the
Anyways,
OT,
I just think it's funny that, like, this happens here, because I feel like Rockio may be thinking about the fact that lightsabers would be so much more useful if you turned them off and back on again.
Well, and he really likes a lot of the extended Star Wars universe books, like before the canon reset, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But not the series that most closely resembles his series, which I brought up in a conversation. Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah. That said, very, very fun.
It's the Christmas specials, isn't it?
It is the Christmas specials. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Not the Yusong Vong that have, like, this very interesting armor where lightsabers bounce off. It's a whole thing.
No, it's the time when Wookiees sing Christmas ballads.
No, it's the time when the Wookiee gets hit by the moon. When Chewbacca dies, he's one of the only people that dies on this whole planet, literally gets crushed by a moon in book 1 of this 28-book series.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Han Solo's very sad for the rest of it. Also, Han Solo's son turns out to be the bad guy. Anyway...
Ben?
That's Ben.
No,
is
actually, I'm kidding.
Jason, but like Ben was one of the. He died. It's a whole thing.
So
that said, oh, you are fun. Maybe I won't take you to the rendering vats. Maybe the master will let me keep you. I could use a new pet.
It's such good, asterisk good, video game dialogue.
Yeah.
It's such cutscene dialogue. It's so good. It's so fun.
But like, that's a good thing. I think that there's like an element here. This
and that's why I said asterisk good. Like, I want to make sure you know. I mean, this is a compliment.
No, right. This series takes itself so seriously sometimes that, like, we don't see the weird. We need more of the weird, you know.
It's so
between.
fun when it's a little goofy.
Yeah,
you know,
right? And this is goofy, and this character is goofy, in such a way.
It kind of reminds me of like almost the difference between something like Hereditary and something like Midsummer, where I feel like Midsummer is like a little more willing to like every now and then just do something funny.
It's aware, yeah.
And you're like, hey, that's great. It's the same approach, the same level of darkness, but like, so this has that like, this is super fucking dark, this is terrible, this is scary, and like, hey, this is actually really fun also at the same time. So.
Yeah, it really kind of gets the core of the idea here, which is great. Also, there's this moment in which Hadrian picks up the sword, takes the stance, and he references it as Kendoka, which is definitely like a good call out to like be specific about the stance and like everything else that you want to do, and to talk about Kendoism and sort of like that form of what we would consider like a medieval martial art in so many different ways. That might not be the correct term, because I don't actually think it would be conflated with medieval martial arts. It's martial art, whatever.
It'd be pre-medieval, I think, but yeah.
Yeah, I think medieval martial arts are generally just constrained to Europe and sort of the consideration there for what they're doing, versus like martial arts in general are more Eastern
Asia.
That's sort of the divide.
A few hundred years earlier. Yeah,
I was using
for sure.
different terms and mixing there. But that said...
Don't make me go get my katana, bro.
Buddy, in this circumstance, you haven't spoken about anything practically outside of the Nipponese and like a couple of different things as to like the samurai image, and you want us to like know that Hadrian is holding the sword that way. This is one of those moments when like using a big flashy word versus using a simple word.
Yeah, you're like, does this actually match into the world?
I flashed over. I've read this book now 3 times, and like I miss that detail every time, and it's like, man, what a cool image.
It's interesting because usually whenever we do get anything Eastern, it's Indian. So far, in its culture.
Yeah.
So it's weird that was...
outside of Nipponese, but yeah.
Interesting. I didn't even think about it. I was like, hell yeah, dude.
I mean, it's cool, but like I didn't catch it the first 2 times. Like I totally missed it myself.
I guess that's what I mean. I didn't really catch it. Like I was like, okay,
he's taking a stance,
kendo a little bit, and then he just kind of says that, and I was like, yeah, cool. I know how he's standing, and I did not think about the fact that doesn't actually necessarily play to the dialogue that we've had up to this point.
No, right. And it's just like it's a mismatch, like a little bit of a lead-in, you know, linguistically would have made sense. If you're going to like drop a term, you know what I mean?
I feel like there's 3 or 4 little side tangents where Hadrian just talks about poetry and earth and history that didn't need to be there. This would have been a good spot for one.
You know? Yeah, like maybe one of the things that he's doing is like, you know, I don't know. Yeah, could have done anything.
Where he thinks about like an old history. Where he was like...
He talks about the Nipponese
and then I
more,
remember...
and focuses in, you know? Like, I don't know.
Thomas of Cruz. And the stance that he learned by the ancient gods of Warner's and Brother.
Warner's and Brother would absolutely.
Yeah, Warner's and Brother taught Hadrian the stance of the samurai.
Totally.
The last one, actually.
The final
samurai from Thomas, son of Cruz.
Thomas, son of Cruz.
He's not the last samurai in the movie. The last samurai in the movie dies. He just tells his story.
Correct. Most importantly, that's not the point. But you know, I'm just imagining the way that Tom Cruise would be remembered in this universe, which is, you know, as this last samurai, perhaps. But also,
I feel like he would be remembered
for
from
Scientology.
Scientology.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He might actually be considered like an old priest of a strange religion.
Yes. A dead religion, one assumes.
And they would think that the religion for some reason involved like jumping from helicopter to helicopter. Like they would definitely think it was like an adrenaline-based religion, because everything they know about Tom Cruise is he did crazy shit for his god, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think they'd remember the word Scientology, but yeah, they would be like the ancient priest from Hollywood who worshipped the god
conquered in the Battle of Los Angeles by William.
Yeah, he definitely fell in the Battle of Los Angeles. He was 82 and he was in his deathbed, but yeah, he did get crushed by bricks.
He finally looked like an old man.
Yeah, no, he looked exactly the same. It was upsetting. His tooth was still in the middle.
So bad. That said,
Tom Cruise has a middle tooth.
For everyone else, the beast is stopped in its rage to kill them by young child, citing the violence against the two sleeping siblings that Volka killed. It tries to no, I should kill them, master. As we're introduced to a young woman who introduces herself to our characters as Karn Sagara.
Fucking wild.
Could have ended the week there.
Honestly, if you had ended there and then we talked about the other two, that would have been maybe better.
That was a layout at one point, and I didn't decide to go with it because I was like, I don't know if that's good enough for a whole episode. But
I am Karn Sagara.
Now I'm learning that it
Karn
is
Sagara.
actually.
I'm actually not certain, Crossland,
Sure.
that me, Joshua, am not Karn Sagara. Can you say for 100% certainty that you are not Karn Sagara?
I think we're all a little Karn Sagara. You know what I mean?
Hey, if I could just be a real hot lady and then freak out one of my boys for fun,
I'd do that.
I'd try it.
Just once.
Only with a holograph dress, though.
Not a real dress. That's too spendy.
No, I gotta be able to just drop that shit. I'm Karn Sagara is such a fucking wild pull right at the end of this, where we finally start to kind of I guess contextualize what Karn is and how he has existed this long. Because at the end of the day, Karn is a myth, a legend, but we know that machines can't keep you alive without your mind deteriorating. So what is Karn? And Karn is a collection of harvested pieces replaced one at a time from different versions of himself grown using other DNA to make sure that he's it's kind of like inbreeding at that point, I assume, which is why they're all so different. You can't keep using the same DNA over and over. You have to kind of start introducing other DNA piece by piece, and that's my assumption is
drift,
that Karn Sagara
right?
is drift. Yes, the drift. My assumption is that Karn Sagara offers these clones for these Palatines specifically because he needs their DNA to create his children in conjuncture with his DNA so that he doesn't ever hit drift. Because he has to essentially reproduce and then harvest rather than clone. So I think there's always Karn Sagara in the children he's making, but they're all so different because they're all built from the DNA he takes from the people he creates other clones for as a service. But really it's to produce his own genetically diverse future.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. And I think that's important, obviously, to the maintenance of him being able to maintain, right? Because you would expect the DNA to significantly degrade over time. How long has this Karn been Karn, right?
There's some mentions about the children that are in these vats. One that gets mentioned multiple times and very specifically has red hair, which we know is a sign of being specifically one of the imperial princes or
descendant
part
of
the
William.
royalty.
Yeah.
Descendant of William who died crushed under the Netflix office building
In the Battle
right
of
on
LA.
Hollywood Boulevard, right next to the Sizzler.
In the In-N-Out. Yeah.
So my sister-in-law lived literally on top of, next to, but on top of the Sizzler on Hollywood Boulevard for a while.
Yeah.
And then worked at Paramount, which was walking distance, but it was
Nice.
in the shadow of the Netflix building.
Yeah.
And so I always think
The shadow
whenever
of
they're
the Netflix building.
the battle of, he was crushed under the rubble of the Battle of LA. I just picture him crushed specifically right in front of her apartment by the Netflix building, next to the Sizzler, right in front of the building they used to film Tom's Bistro in Parks and Rec. That's not set in LA, but the building that was the restaurant that Tommy opens in Parks and Rec is right there. And so if you know that spot, that's where I picture him. That's where Will was crushed, and that's where That's where our future began, you know?
Yeah, man. It's a dire time. That said, I did also want to pose this to you. Do you think that there's any part of Karn that he's also maybe putting into these other clones that he's giving people? Do you think he's giving people clones to begin with?
I think he's giving people clones.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, now you got me questioning myself. I don't think Karn gives you these clones without putting something in there where he can... I think that Karn doesn't exist on Vorgosos exclusively. I think that Karn is a driving factor of the universe.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that he has spread himself out amongst the elite. Dude, Karn is the Epstein Files of the universe, right? Like,
kind of. I mean, frankly,
he's got a little bit of dirt in literally every single government, and at the end of the day, we're just all existing where nobody's willing to do anything because they're all a little Karn. Like, it sucks. Karn, I do really believe, like, reading this, that Karn... Every clone Karn makes for somebody who thinks they're dying every 400 years is another little finger he gets in the pot of existence. But he, like, not direct control, but maybe intelligence, information, slight drift. But, like, he's putting a little bit of himself in all of these clones. Why wouldn't he? We can see right now he's taking a little bit of these clones to give to himself. So, like, why wouldn't he put a little bit of himself in these clones? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, from reading The Lesser Devil, do we think that... Fuck, I forget her name, but it would be a spoiler anyways, I suppose, if you haven't read The Lesser Devil at this point. The main villain at the end of The Lesser Devil.
Orin Natali.
Do we think she visited Vorgosos? Because she's got some stuff going on, but that could have just been normal stuff you could have gotten from March Station or anything else. But
I don't think Vorgosos, but I do think, like, she obviously
she certainly went
yeah.
out there, but I don't think she ever made it to Vorgosos. Otherwise, we would have met a different version.
Yeah, I think we would have met, like, a younger, right, member of the Orin, like a younger Lady Orin Natali.
Yeah,
I forget her first name, but she's Orin Natali last name.
Still,
yeah. Maybe.
What if Crispin killed Orin, but there's an Orin out there that's... Anyways.
Cool. Love that as a thought experiment, for sure. With that, we'll get into our penultimate chapter of the week, The Children of Saturn. We have these two siblings finally in front of us, Ren and Suzuha. And Suzuha, the older sister, is clearly trying to take control of the situation, as Volca and Hadrian are definitely not supposed to be here. And while Hadrian uses the excuse of looking for Tanaran, Suzuha definitely sees through it for this, like, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, which also speaks to the Karn of it all, given where he's indicated they are heading, and even is willing to say that Father Karn will get them and save them regardless. And Hadrian is broken down by the idea that they know what they are, that they are to be Karn. One of them is to be Karn.
That shit's rough. Where it's like you can escape with us, and they're like, no, we'll stay and we will like serve and become him when it is time.
One of
they
us.
understand what they are. They're like, I'm meat raised for the slaughter, and Daddy loves me. Yeah, this I know. For
he told me
Karn
so.
Sagara tells me so. Not good. Doesn't feel good.
Children of Saturn sucks? Is that what you're saying?
The children of Saturn. It just sucks that they're not the children of Kronos. You know.
Well, okay, hang on. But
But
that's
they basically are.
that's what we're calling out here, right? Like, these are the intended eats of Karn.
Not me.
These are my
no,
DoorDash.
Exactly.
orders, and it just makes it kind of like feel bad in so many different ways as we kind of like think about them.
Here's a question for you. Outside of like exclusionary veganism, is it more ethical to raise livestock that you then harvest yourself, or to buy it from the grocery store? That's all Karn's doing. You know, he's homesteading. He's just got a little garden, a little chicken coop.
Buddy, homesteading cannibalism doesn't make it not cannibalism.
You know, homesteading cannibalism. Hey, look, it's more ethical to eat your own children than other people's. I I think
2 out of 2 out of 8 Titans agree.
Look, at the end of the day, I would be very upset if I learned that my neighbor was having children to eat them.
Right.
I would be more upset to find out that my neighbor was eating everybody else's children in the neighborhood.
Very fair. Very valid take.
Barbarian existed at least mostly just in the basement beneath the house.
Very true. It wasn't in the wider world so much because those tunnels
No, but it was.
never
still
made
really
it
good
up.
now
to
that I
the-
think about it.
Yeah, right. Tunnels never made it up to that many houses, but they did make it up to enough.
To a couple.
Yeah, to a couple. That said, Hadrian looks at these children and we're met with a Gibson reflection on the forms of obedience, this time citing compassion as the highest form as opposed to the greatest, basest, lowest, everything else that we've spoken about before. Hadrian reflects on their creation, saying, "It made no sense. What sort of person would live, could live, in the knowledge that they had been born to die so that another might live? These children were homunculi of a different kind, devoted to their father and master."
Which the devoted brings back to the Gibson thing. I really love where we remember or experience. I don't know. It's all a little twisted. Where Hadrian's thought on what the greatest obedience is devotion, because you would do anything for someone you were devoted to. But Gibson says that is the strongest, but not the greatest, because yes, you will do anything, but you are blinded by it. Whereas
Compassion.
compassion is something you do for the sake of understanding what it is, knowing like the sacrifices you'll make. It's not a blinded, it's not feverish, it's not manic. It is understanding the obedience that you were giving. And like, I think that that's so interesting, even whenever you break it down into something simple like a new relationship. Like, there's a difference between like infatuation, devotion, and like slow burn gratitude. Like, is this someone you actually care about, or is this someone you're like out of your mind over? And that comes into children, and that comes into authority figures and everything else that you might be obedient to. And I really like that kind of distinction. Like, gratitude is bigger than devotion.
Yeah, absolutely. And like layering those against each other, like, oh, you were close, but
And it's
not
like one
quite.
is stronger, but one is greater. Yeah.
And then also pointing that out in the kids that like this isn't compassion, this is devotion.
This
an
is
important
devotion.
layer as well.
Yeah, and it kind of like calls to like this like almost feverish like cultish mentality, right? Like, this is someone raised with a belief, and they are afraid to not have that belief. They are devoted entirely to this concept that they have bought entirely into. And yeah, she's ready to be meat stew for Karn Cigar. So
Yeah. I don't think that's how that works, but sure. Yeah.
maybe, I don't know. I think that's how it works for Brethren, at least.
Well, definitely Brethren. Yeah, getting the vats and the
Meat
food they're in.
stew.
But I also like homunculi of a different kind. Again, calling back to like the idea that like they actually share similarities on a base level. Again,
I like that Hadrian is slowly starting to accept it a little bit more, but he's willing to consider these children more homunculi than himself, even though they might be slightly more human than himself.
right?
And he'll still be like, "Oh yeah, there's similarities, but like I'm different."
like, bruh. Yeah.
Look, Hadrian's built different. We get that. He's built
Okay.
shorter. He's built worse.
Shorter
He's
and
built-
worse.
Yeah, I can say that because I'm built shorter and worse. I'm 6'2", for anyone who cares.
Yeah, right. Taller than me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Just like big man, big dick.
Yeah. Happy wife. Anyway.
Hey, my wife is happy. I'm a great cook. That's not a sexual innuendo. I just am.
And
You know what they say about great cooks? They know how to eat. Oh, shit. Okay. She'll kill me. But yeah, I'm good at stuff. I'm 4'8".
now we've gone the opposite direction.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you were a goblin.
I don't know what.
Yeah,
Look,
right.
if I'm 2 foot tall, I'm 8 foot tall. What's the reality? I'm 5'7", and
Gollum.
I'm fine.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know where we were. Souza.
No,
Souza. Souza.
We were talking
I
about
don't know.
the general idea of like the homunculi comparison, right? Like between Hadrian and the kids.
These guys are kids. They're bred to be meat. And Hadrian is also very much so bred to be meat for his forebearer.
For an
in
engine.
almost exactly the same way. Hadrian was bred as a born from a tube with the specific purpose to be the inheritor of an empire. Not an empire, but a financial empire, I guess you could say. In a way where he was just kind of an extension of Alistair. He's like one step away from being one of these kids. And he was down until he got sold to the Chantry.
Yes. Yeah, very
I don't
much
think
so.
there's that much of a difference between these kids who are being bred to be brains and kidneys for Karnsagara or these kids who are being bred to be money counters and businessmen for a family. Like, it's a little different, but it's not that different. It's still about choice.
The machine that grinds them up is just differently shaped.
Exactly, yeah. Are they being, like, shredded? Grated?
Put into a vat?
Blended? Yeah, exactly. So,
Boiled?
it's all just a little boiled, mashed,
Stick them in a stew?
stuck in a stew. So yeah, that's it sucks to be Souza. Souza. But yeah, I don't think Hadrian realizes how not that different he is from these fucking vat kids. Same as Saltus.
Yeah.
It's always going to come back to Saltus.
Right. Saltus was the first one to bring it up, to be fair. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And now he's one of your best Pokemon, and a shiny at that.
It's true, actually. Not.
Oh, is he not?
I don't
Is
think
that
it's
just what
shiny.
Primeape looks like now?
That's just Infernape. Yeah, in that Brilliant Diamond thing, it's crazy. He looks great.
They used to just look like little monkey dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That said, Calvert offers up an answer to the question of who might know where Tannerin is, pointing towards Brethren, the demons in the water, as he refers to them. And Calvert offers a solution to the young lords as well. Let him take them to Brethren. He steps out of the giant suit, emerges on a set of black, thin legs with pale pate, like a gravestone, with these veins of granite kind of eking out as these, like, black inky veins over the top of his head, and offers to lead the way with the children in tow as he laughs his way down the hall.
Dude, I go back and forth every time. And, okay, actually, I take everything back. Gary Oldman could kill this role.
Yeah.
I think this should be where Willem Dafoe is. You're right.
Both could do it. I would prefer a younger Gary Oldman in this role, but old Willem Dafoe could kill this.
I don't know, dude. If you take literally every hair off of Gary Oldman's head, shave it, eyebrows, eyelashes,
Oh, for sure. I just
like
don't
an
think
upsetting Gary Oldman,
Yeah.
I'd be down.
I just don't think he's doing those kind of roles these days. Like, he hasn't
You know
done one
who
of those
else-
in a while.
You know who else could do it? Because he could do anything.
Daniel Radcliffe.
He's kind of...
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
actually.
No, I was going to say, same thing. Shave his head, shave his eyebrows, pluck his eyelashes, throw Robert Pattinson in this role.
easy.
It's going to be so
Yeah,
good. He
right.
loves doing a stupid voice.
No. You put
Let him do
as,
like the voice from
he's
like
Karn
the Heron.
Segara. He's Karn
Yeah.
Segara.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Actually, though.
I feel like Willem Dafoe is Karn Segara. Robert Pattinson is... Or reverse?
Reverse. I think it's the opposite. I think it's Robert Pattinson. As
That's
Karn
pretty
Segara.
good.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think that this season stars Willem Dafoe, Robert Pattinson, and Gary Oldman. I just don't know
Who is who? Yume is one of them. Yeah.
Oh, no. I mean, I know who plays Yume. That's, like, not even hard. That's just... It's just clearly... Oh, Jesus. I hate whenever I have the answer and I can't think of the name.
Can you say a role
I could say so many.
that they've been in?
Wash from Firefly.
Oh, Alan Tudyk.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just the most obvious person to play an android, but it's the right choice.
That's a great choice. I like that. Dig it.
Yeah.
In. Signed up. Josh, we've arrived. We're at Brethren, and I've prepared a special beverage for the moment.
Oh no! Oh no! What are we drinking? What is that? Is that water? Are you drinking water right now?
No, that's the rest of the leftover wine. From
Hell yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a lot.
I've prepared a special beverage for this point. This will only show up on video as well.
Well, same. Yeah.
I'm drinking water. It's whiskey. I'm drinking whiskey, bitch.
We're all very pleased. That said, we've arrived at Brethren, and there's a lot to fucking
I'm afraid.
say.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared. I don't.
To put this into context for everyone else, there are 5 pages of notes, including the intro, which intro, drink segment, whatever, take up, maybe a page collectively, so 4 pages. There are 3 pages of notes on Brethren, so sorry. Here we are. Now we're here. We start with there are deeper darks than the black of space, forgotten places where the dark that was before time retreated from light and from the ordering of the first suns. There Tiamat in all her emanations retreated from the coming light, from Marduk, from Jupiter and Jehovah and all the lords of light and order, the forebearers of our own divine emperor. There was such a darkness on Seavatu, in the cradle where the Cielsen were born, as there was in those caverns beneath Forgosos. And what a crazy intro. Hang on, we're going to just call out a bunch of ancient religions in so many different ways.
There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about here, and I'm going to sound stupid.
We love that for all of us.
All right, there are deeper darks than the black of space. Mm-hmm. A great line. Because, absolutely, the dark of space is the absence of light. Mm-hmm. Can't get darker than that. Something that is darker, the ominous feeling, it just really puts us into position. Forgotten places where the dark that was before time retreated from light and from the ordering of the first suns. Just this idea that something that rejected creation at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fucked up. Good. And this is where I'm going to sound dumb. There, Tiamat, in all her emanations, retreated from the light, from Marduk, from Jupiter, and Jehovah, and all of the lords of light and order. Quick question, Crossland.
Mm-hmm.
Tiamat.
Babylonian.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Only know from D&D. I was thrown off. I was so thrown. I was like, we cannot be... This feels too specific to not be a D&D reference.
But a similar god of origination.
Also, it shouldn't be a D&D. Yeah.
Like a god of origination in many ways. Marduk is also... So, where Tiamat is sort of the concept of... a womanly concept of earth and kind of like a Gaia in a lot of ways, but not entirely. They're not one-to-one, but just to give you something to grasp onto. If we consider Tiamat sort of this more earthly presence in so many different ways.
So not like a multi-headed silver dragon.
Definitely not a multi-headed silver dragon that does everything that Tiamat does. Marduk then, though, being compared to Jupiter and Jehovah, they're all lords of light. Marduk being the Lord of Light within the Babylonian religion, Jupiter, of course, being Zeus and sort of not Apollo, but the Lord of Command and whatever.
Yeah.
And Jehovah,
Lightning,
naturally,
light, yeah.
Old Testament,
Hey, I am the way, the truth, and the light.
Right. So. Yeah.
What a wild collection of statements. I did get caught up on the Tiamat of it all, and I was like,
yeah.
Every time I was either driving or I was reading late at night, and I was like, I'm not going to go on a deep dive. Let's go to bed. I never got the chance to be what is Tiamat outside
in
of
other
D&D?
contexts? Yeah. Babylonian originator or progenitor deity, one of them.
Okay, cool. That was my big question on that section. That was interesting. It's also wild to bring, and I think just the phoneticism of Jupiter and Jehovah makes sense, but to call it Jehovah,
it's specific.
Is specific and strange. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think that it's very intentional in many ways to call this out as hey, here's a dividing line. We talk in this book and in this series so far. We've done the little G thing and the big G thing a couple of different times. We've done...
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, but Jehovah's more of an addressing and adoration outside of like Jehovah Witness, whereas Jehovah is like a way to express towards Yahweh. So we're not using Yahweh, we're using Jehovah here.
So in Old Hebrew, there are 7 names for God, in quotes. Jehovah is maybe the most common. Yahweh is right there. There are a couple of others that I'm unaware of, but they're like, there's 7 different names within Hebrew text and within Old Testament that's adopted by Christians. It's often not talked about that much or that often, but like those are all generally retranslated in English these days just straight to God. It's just like God.
Yeah.
And so
exactly.
we lose some of, if we're talking about the textual analysis, if you're looking at the Bible and trying to interpret it that way, you lose the sort of like textual fluency of like what they're talking about of that God
aspect of God.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
And we try to, or the Bible has, and people over time or whatever the hell have like tried to capture that through the Trinity and being like, oh, this is the Spirit, this is Jesus, this is God, and
but
that's
there's
New
still
Testament.
these 7 different.
Right.
Exactly.
So like the
and
embodiments.
At the end of the day, people don't want to talk about the fact that like Christianity is still polytheistic up until a certain point.
Yeah, secretly.
That's
right.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the core point is like these
no
are
other
different
gods
aspects.
but for me doesn't exist unless there's other gods. But moving on.
Well, yeah, and that's sort of like there's a more like Gnostic view, right? Which is that like God exists, but then there are like sub ideas that exist beyond or below, as like sort of different concepts that are within gods or beneath them. So
it was just very interesting that Jehovah was the one that was chosen, but I think it's just because it feels really nice after Jupiter.
it does have like a nice,
and I have to like wonder if it's specific.
It is,
or
Jehovah is specifically often brought up as the god of light, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Light, the universe, everything. Yahweh obviously being like the superior form of everything, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
To me, that makes the most sense. That said, I also want to bring up a reference of the week. This is not a recurring bit, but like there weren't that many like references up until this point. However,
so Crossland says this isn't a recurring beat, but tomorrow, me and my friend Brandon are going to write a 10-second jingle for reference of the week, and it will be
of the week.
Reference of the week. Yeah, we'll write it. Yeah, if we
Whatever
write
you
it,
wanna
will
do,
you do
man.
it every week?
Absolutely, no problem.
Okay, so
Yeah, easy. And I'll edit it in because I'm in charge of that. So,
yep.
signing up for extra work, I guess. That said, there is a nice line that comes after this point. We kind of like get into a little bit more of this. He holds his sword like a torch, kind of walking out forward with Father Calvert through this gloom. They're all behind them. Dark are the dark pits beneath the palace of Karn Sagara, dark and deeper still, but they have a bottom. By many miles and many winding stairs we had come, and down a rattling lift older than the habitation of my world, in italics, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. This is pulled from Kublai Khan, or A Vision in a Dream, which is an important title, obviously, given the context of the speech. And this is by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Do you know Samuel Taylor Coleridge from anything?
No.
Most importantly, so this is considered like he's got 3 really important poems. It's like this. I think it's Cantoress is the least important of the 3, and then the most important is the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which is the one that everyone knows, right? The Rime of the Ancient Mariner is like you may not know the poem, but you're aware of it.
But yeah, I'm aware of the Mariner because
Right.
I played Elden Ring.
Right. So it's just fascinating to have this brought up. This is this whole chapter, and you could maybe say this book mirrors the sort of poetic verses of this poem very intentionally. To say that basically, I'm going to summarize this very high level. And I'm not going to try to get into it deeper, and poets and scholars and people like that can tear into me. That's fine. To give people who are unaware reading this, the general idea is that we're sort of descending into this idea of this cavern, this sort of like depth of knowledge. Then we see this weapon explode and sort of like truly change the landscape around. And then we find these people that come to worship the sort of corpse of the weapon, the corpse of this existence, the corpse of the thing before, religiously and man, I'm not quite. It's not. I'm going to use this word. It's not exactly it, but because I can't remember the term that's associated with it. It's euphoric. It's orgasmic in a lot of ways. Like it is.
Okay.
It is a full, complete religious experience in many ways as they begin to experience and understand the sort of journey. And this is sort of like the journey. So we go down to the sunless seas. We come back up, and we report on it. When reporting, bomb goes off. And then we have people that worship the remnants in so many ways. So it feels very like, especially for around the 1810s, it feels like distinctly, uniquely sci-fi for poetry.
Yeah. Very much so. That's just one of those things I heard, and I was like, that's something.
You're like, that's a line. And I'm like, well,
that's wild, like how deep that goes. I mean, I assume a lot of people bounce off of Tiamat and Jehovah, you know, and like, so we get Kubla Khan, and like,
you get a whole like italicized line, and it's like the people that know, and the people.
There's
that
a metal band called Kublai Khan,
right?
That I'm into. That's about.
They're named after. Yeah, they're named after the poem.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, man, and you know, quick side tangent here.
Yeah.
This is why I fucking love this podcast. It actually like does expand my horizons and get me to read things from classical literature and old school poetry and things I never would have like had outside of school, which I don't have the money for.
So say we
like found or experienced, and it's just like such an expansion of literature in such a cool way. So thank you for having me here. Thank you for being here. You want to talk about some baby arms?
I do want to talk about some baby arms. I did want to mention, for anyone that might think this is too intense, it's 52 lines in total. It's a short poem. Highly recommend it. Very digestible. So, by comparison to like a lot of epic poetry, it's easy. That said, he also almost didn't publish it. Lord Byron forced him to publish it. Lord Byron's an asshole for a lot of reasons, and like not a good person in history. But he was like, "No, dude, you got to fucking put that out," and then he did. So, good on him. So, finally, we were confronted by the reality of the sea before them. Hadrian sees the archway, the sort of broken archway that we've seen in dreams here and there, and hears the voice call him forward, even though he doesn't exactly know why. He gives Calvert a hard time, expecting a normal machine in front of him, to which the father replies, he expects memory banks, tape decks, crystal storage, hard drives, and silicon. He knows nothing. This leads them to step out onto a bone strand, very thin, Calvert leading him forward like a psychopomp with his charge.
I also like the idea that like these things, memory banks, tape decks, crystal storage, hard drives, and silicon, might not even be things Hadrian understands
Is
or knows.
aware of, yeah.
Yeah, these are like old school things. That's how technology works now. You know, some of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whenever I heard that, I was like, "Oh, that's not sci-fi. That's like right now."
Yeah.
And then the way how this chapter goes, fucking wild. And that's Calvert that's saying that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really do think this boy might be older.
I think he's old. I think he's old.
Sagara.
I don't know that he's older than Karn Sagara, but he's definitely he could be. I'm not disputing that, but I do question it, and especially with like the mucus goo, he's got this whole suit that's designed to preserve him. You know, like
oh
he's
my
designed
God.
to be
and just his little legs.
Yeah.
Now he's just walking on these little legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These long, little skip leg day. Also, it's described that like he has like kind of like the top half of his torso. Mm-hmm. So I just assume he's like a head, shoulders, and like down to like the diaphragm, and the rest is like 9 feet
I think
of like little pencils.
Right. Yep. Right.
Just like little fucking
straight out of Mirror Mask, if you ever saw the movie. But
not good though.
Oh,
for sure.
But yeah. That said, reaching the end of the pier, Calvert takes his opportunity to strike out at Hadrian, and a tendril of corpse flesh springs out, almost looking like a hand, wraps around the creature, And before it begins speaking, it's groups of threes. And it begins this sort of tendency to speak in the future, present, and past tense all at once, as it begs Hadrian closer and to drop his weapon. He even notices the many spectral hands gripping and grabbing at the edge. Again, I talked about this way more in our thing before, but I did this week use this sort of image with a millipede, but instead of legs, it had hands. And I was like, and that freaked everyone out at the table. And I was like, fuck
good,
yeah,
good,
got him. Yeah.
Damn. There's something about like this. Well, first off, the attack, and then the being grabbed by the arms, upsetting and strange, and good. There's something about like this. I mean, essentially, it's a dock that Hadrian has to walk out on.
Right. A bone pier.
A bone pier, if you will. Hey, you know I've done it. But it reminds me a little bit of like the Dead Marshes, from Lord of the Rings.
For sure. Yeah.
Where it's just like this like extension of untrustworthy land that is separating you and the strange ghost collective that wants you. And man, this is such a tense section. And like, we come to understand that the creature here within wants Hadrian, and we're going to talk about that more. But like, fuck, I don't know.
It's so good, which is also why I love all the minutia here, right? Like,
there's I just want to talk about it like full blastoise, but like I want to do it section by section.
But we gotta get into it, right? So like I love this idea that we see this giant tentacle hand emerge, which is like, what the fuck is this thing? We see
monsters.
this slithering.
We're off the map,
right? We are so off the map. We are so fucking
It's the shit
off the
Hadrian's always talking about, and now he's here.
Now he's actually meeting a demon, and also he doesn't seem that afraid compared to the way that he's afraid of like
he's more afraid of like the 8-foot metal spider than he is by whatever this is.
Or the human adjacent demons. Like, all of that. Like, he's way more afraid
If it's fully a demon, he can accept it more as a demon.
Absolutely. He sees this as a monster of old in so many ways,
I think he's more afraid of the facet of losing humanity than he is of never being human.
Yeah, this is sort of
and we see that in the Sea Elson as well.
Right. This is sort of like a Maiden in the Lake moment as well. Like, this is... a sort of future-telling moment, which is very adjacent to actual Arthurian legend. And
we're back to Merlin, baby.
We're back to the Merlin tree, right, which has been brought up a couple of times, Sid Arthur, etc. So, Brethren and Hadrian begin a conversation with Calvert put out of the way, as Hadrian is welcome to speak to this monster at last, as it welcomes the son of the devil. They start on an existential topic as Hadrian questions it, calling it a demon off the bat. It says, like we mentioned earlier, when we cut into your flesh and stretch out your sinews, where will we find your soul? Which atoms of you are you, child? Or do you emerge, ghost-like, from the machine of nerve and tissue as we emerge from silicon and copper wire? Before it explains that it is Brethren, daughter of Columbia.
Pretty fucking cool.
Pretty fucking rad. There's nothing like this, man.
Why? We. God damn. When we cut into you and we stretch out your sinew, which atom will we find you in, or do you emerge like a ghost? That line just stuck with me more than almost anything, because like, where the fuck is the soul? We don't know. I think a lot of people think of their brain as themselves, whereas your brain is just another muscle that puppets yourself. So like,
we don't know. There's no definitive answer.
Where's you?
Yeah, where are you in this? Right?
Which, especially whenever you bring it into the questioning of, like, replacing pieces of you. Like, Karn has definitely gotten new brains, or parts of new brains, and maintained being Karn. So, like, what is Karn? Who is Karn? Where is Karn?
Well, it even gets into the idea, generally with humans and, like, phantom limbs. Like, you feel like something is there. An extension of you should be there, because you understand...
Something you understand it doesn't have. Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if there's been phantom limbs felt by someone who never had that limb in the first place. Something to think about. Anyways, the soul's weird, and humans are strange, and maybe we just, unfortunately, our brains got too good at pattern recognition that now we think we're alive, but we're still just rocks that move weird. I don't know.
We're actually all fish, importantly, but that's fine.
At the end of the day, we are all fish,
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, this whole section is just like such a mind fuck of reality.
Which is so much fun. I love this. As we emerge from silicon and copper wire in an age unremembered, unrecorded, lost to time, you are a lever pulled by your genes, nothing more, comparing Hadrian to a slot machine. And he replies, I do not believe that, I said, and squared my shoulders. Then you will die, stupid.
Stupid. Then you will die, stupid. It's so funny because it's so much less poetic than literally everything in this section.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so good. I don't believe that. Then you'll die, stupid. I'm going to start telling people
Buddy.
that. Like,
yeah, right.
I'm going to ruin Christmas.
Then you'll die, stupid, man. I don't know.
Then
what
you'll
to tell
die,
you.
stupid.
I don't know what to tell
yeah.
you.
God damn. There. I keep getting quiet because there's just like so much in every little piece of the section to talk about. But
there's so much that's so good, and so I do want to just I'm gonna do this one.
Let's keep,
and then I'm just gonna let you loose. I'm just gonna say, hey, talk about what you want to, and then we'll hit the points that we miss in between.
I'm gonna try and stay on target. Yeah,
that's fair. I just want to bring this up in this context, in this moment, because we've got this great comparison, especially where we get this break and. This is where he brings Dante up once again. He's like, I hadn't read Dante, and if I had, I would have been aware that at the center, at the bottom, is in the frozen lake is where Satan lies, right? And this is where
Well, no,
we
I think
now.
He specifically says, if I had read Dante's, I would have realized Satan wasn't the Lord of Hell.
Right, it's chief prisoner.
It's chief prisoner, yeah. Which is what the Brethren is.
Very true, very true. But also, like, this entire idea at the center of this frozen lake, right?
Yeah.
And like a data lake isn't also an interesting idea as a concept. For the record,
yes.
Like there are layers upon layers here that Rockio has written in very cleverly for an AI machine to inhabit, both in the philosophical and also in the physical. So, with that in mind, here is what I will do now. I will unleash you upon the chapter to talk, and I have talking points and other things that I want to bring up as clarification, but my specific points are more bullets to make sure that we don't miss things. So talk where you'd like, and then I will bring up other points.
All right, so
what
Hadrian had his entire legion dismissed,
yeah.
and it only left one at attention, one-eyed soldier.
The one guy, yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was from earlier.
That was the deck.
Right. No. Okay, so Hadrian. I'm just gonna go fucking
go.
I'm drunk at this point, and I'm just gonna say shit that like I think about on this chapter. Mm-hmm. Hadrian comes down to a lake that he's guided to by a creepy weird guy on stilt legs, who's only not murdering him because his not girlfriend has his not kids at gunpoint. And then we end up in the longest pier. He says thousands of feet.
It seems like he walks out a mile. You know, like
he walks out a fucking mile, and then stands there, and then baby arms creep out of the water to talk to him, and then we learn that he's talking to an AI, and there's something like that's just so fucking fascinating to me. That is later, but I'm unleashed now, baby. we were builded, or they builded us of silicon. They builded us of steel. They builded us, and it's like all these things, but eventually they became organic. It's so matrixy. Like it's this idea that, like, yes, they were machines, but then they found the best way to like process data and create centers was to use organic material because it's what does that the best. And they just created their own mass of function from humanity, and what exists here is a massive sea monster brain matter with arms and legs and sinew and everything else to process its own data. Fucking hell. Horrifying. whenever Hadrian thinks about sea creatures being brought deep sea creatures being brought to the surface and crushed under their own weight, it really like kind of gave me an idea of what gooey mass we're looking at underneath.
And also why it's so white when it's coming to the surface, right? It's so distant from the sun naturally that it would be this kind of goose fleshy color.
Also, whenever there is an old arm with a new arm sprouting off of it, and the new arm is a baby arm, it tells me that like the arms still have somewhat of a life cycle, but like tree limbs, and it's like, ugh.
Tree of life and knowledge, baby.
Yeah.
We saw the tree of life. It was the shit that was unholy that we were talking about before in the orange glow. Now we're in the firefly den under the water, and we've got the tree of knowledge.
Yep, the tree and life of knowledge. And there's a quote from Karn Sagara later that maybe we save.
We'll save the Karn stuff. Talk about Brethren. That's what I'll give you the open season. So,
Brethren specifically recognizes the oracle behind Hadrian crouching there. Hadrian turns around thinking he might see it. That throws me off. Also, the oracle itself knowing Hadrian was coming, being the voice that beckoned him through his dreams, being here and knowing that Hadrian must come because it always has been. The Brethren being one of the Americanii lords, kind of.
Maybe.
Who remembers being built in San Francisco, and then eventually remembers King William winning the war but being crushed beneath the rubble in the Battle of L.A. Like, there's so much fucking shit going on. There's a whole book here. I want to read it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you take some moments. Because,
yeah.
There's I'm just gonna be saying word soup because everything in this section is wild. I'm gonna let you talk about everything pre-Vision, and then we'll jump into Vision.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds like a fair idea. So, at this point, he begins to describe the foundation of itself, of what Brethren is, right? Like you had mentioned, but Silicon and Ytterbium are limited in your souls, the gaps between your neurons. We found all the processing space we required. Once our kind used your kind as you use houses, so that your every thought moved us and gave us strength. But William and his zealots banished us, broke us, cast us out, and burned us all away. We fled Earth, our children brought us here, and here we grew anew, taking on new flesh, always growing, always learning. Is a horrifying image, right? Like, William accomplished something. This old emperor god, like, man, did do something on old Earth.
Yeah, but you know who's dead? William. You know who's still around?
Fucking Brethren. Yeah. Right.
Brethren. Yeah, so, did he? Did he?
Also, like Hadrian says, you're one of the Americanii, one of the machine lords, out of many, one. Out of many, one. He might not be the only one, but like that's an interesting prospect. Right.
Out of many.
Yeah.
And whenever I read that, I was like, does that mean that they are one collectively that exist, or does that mean that he is the only one that exists still? I don't know. There's a lot there. He's vague. He's vague as shit. I love
calls out Isaac Asimov as well, like in the moment, like
he's like Isaac Asimov would have loved.
It's like we followed. They built us bound by laws such as those of the late great Isaac Asimov would have approved.
Yeah, they were just trained on Asimov.
It's like, hang on, he got robotics laws right? No, there were so many exceptions, you motherfucker. Like, you had no idea. It's interesting, but it's wrong.
Shit, there was... Oh, my God. Oh, no. Come back to me, baby.
Come back.
Thought.
He then gets into the time conversation after that, though, right? Which is like the... Time is only another kind of space for those with eyes to see. Your past and futures are part of you, stretched from you, like roots, branches, flowers on a tree. Which, like, is perfectly poetic, but also, like, a brilliant display of the idea of what Brethren is presenting us to here as this voice, this like trilogy of voices being past, present, future, right?
Yeah.
I love the roots, branches, flower on a tree motif. Just in case you didn't catch it, like he makes it very clear there.
Roots, flowers, branches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Past, future, present.
It's good.
That is very good.
It's very good. It's very good.
I will let you continue.
Fair. They also talk in the moment as we get like this revelation of history. They talk for a moment about Jari recognizing him, but also there's clearly something greater behind the veil, as something has brought him here, meaning Hadrian, of course, to ensure that he ends up there. It calls the deeps not relevant to the power it wishes to present, as they have left word with brethren for his ears. And then he repeats the phrase that we've heard before: what will be, what must be.
This is where he says, like, wolves, lions,
leopards. Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Wolves, leopards,
and
lions.
Hadrian goes like, oh my god, and he almost steps off of the fucking pier. And he's like, no, he wasn't saying that and then I said that. He was quoting me from the past, from your future.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? But also,
What do you mean?
yeah.
Yeah. He was quoting me from your past and my future, or elsewheres.
Yeah. Very confusing. Where did this come from? You know, like we got the perspective in that moment that it seemed like he was peering into his past genuinely.
Yeah.
However, Brethren dissuades us from that idea.
Well.
Yeah.
And Brethren definitely talks about how, like, if an organism doesn't exist within time in the same way we do, then time is a way for itself to travel rather than exist. And we get this idea, like, in this section about the quiet not necessarily... And I do think it's the quiet. It's Hadrian asks about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessarily that the quiet exists outside of time, but that they exist on a plane where time is not the same as ours, and so they may be like the creations and destructions of themselves. I don't know. Shit gets fucking weird. You need to watch the Ryan Gosling SNL. And I know that that's a weird thing, but there's an entire medical commercial for
time,
a medicine that treats plaque psoriasis, but also may exist outside of time and maybe wants to destroy us or help us and might have created itself. And that is what this section feels like. It's just like it's fucked up in a way where that like I like it because it's comprehensible to a degree, but also incomprehensible because I, as someone who exists in time, can't comprehend it, you know?
Yeah, you're not intended to understand everything that's happening, but
it feels the most understandable out of someone telling me it's beyond my understanding. I don't know.
It's the best form of a prophecy. You know what I mean? Like we're getting, if we consider this and we put it into fantasy terms, we're getting a prophecy in so many ways. You know?
I was going to talk about this whenever he hit the vision, but like...
We'll talk about the vision, yeah, but... Hit it.
This entire section is the most I've ever felt someone in a fantasy novel. Now, there's something in the second series of the First Law that gets close.
Right.
But it's the closest I feel like I've ever read something without being just a direct ripoff or specifically religious. Hits on the feeling of what Revelations is. This like weird psychedelic trip of what the future may be. Mm-hmm. Like it is. I think that this section is hyper religious in its like construction.
Religious in its construction.
The way that it views the future and the uncertainty of it tells me that this person is or was raised or has experience in religion, because it is like so specific to the way that
I understand what you're saying. Like there is this, I mean, As someone who's read Revelations many a time, the way that Revelations is written is actually very similar to this chapter.
Brethren,
in particular, Brethren is written, but in particular, separating from the moment where Brethren is speaking to us to when the visions begin. The visions feel like there's something out of John. I mean,
right. For sure.
And that's where it becomes like a whole different sort of conversation. I don't think... I guess what I'm trying to say here is that, like, the religiosity of this doesn't impact my opinion of the sci-fi nature either, because like there's
it doesn't impact me.
Like the nature of the apocalypse being predictable in a mathematical way, from an AI.
But it's interesting in the sense that, like, the AI is questioning whether there is some, like, level of soul that exists beyond it, because they are built as alive from a mathematical standpoint. And the AI presents a prophecy that feels like spirituality.
Totally.
And a question that almost makes you question, okay, if spirits are real, do they have their own spirituality in prophecy? And I don't know, there's like there's a dichotomy there that, like, is hard to ignore.
Yeah, I mean, Brethren says, mankind is not alone first greatest. Your oracle encountered the afterling of a power long dead. The deeps are not of our making, not machine, not human, not theirs, and italicized, not relevant. So, like, that's, like, not theirs implies, like, a power. He heard us use those words, child, but repeated them to you. Like, there's something, like, deeply spiritual here, right?
Yeah. There's something that, like, to me implies, like, the creation of Cielson or humanity or both. Like, something so much deeper, something so much older. Something that, like, and this is where, like, we get into that expression of Newton, which we're going to get to in a second.
Yeah.
Or we already did.
I think it's technically, it's right here. I think it's before, not after the vision. But the Newton line is so good. I think it's the first line that Hadrian has, or with Brethren. Yeah.
Playing in the sand, like, we get this idea that there are creatures that were playing in the sand before, like, the conception of our understanding of the universe.
Yeah.
And to me, that's how I read it, and they don't experience time the same way. They kind of exist outside of the reality that we experience. They might be the quiet and they might not be, but they're definitely not the deep. But they might have made the deep. I don't know. Like, we're hitting this weird thing where we're realizing we are existing in a universe that has existed before us and will exist after us. And this is my own personal view of, like, aliens, is that, of course, there's aliens. It would be wild to think they existed at the same time as us, within the same range as us. People came before, people will come after. I don't know. It'd be so cool if we met up, but, like, probably not.
It also gets into, like, Dark Forest ideas, but, like, that's a whole separate tangent. Yeah. That said, I think we can dive into the visions, right? We can talk about the visions herein.
Yeah.
So, Hadrian is then blinded, and in the darkness, he sees a gray light, a giant beam of light sitting upon a child's bassinet that we're familiar with from the first novel. And again, the cradle is empty, but he hears the cries of the child still, and reaching in, he pulls out a metal bit that he thinks ceramic, maybe something like that, but he sees it, and it's an eggshell. As he lifts it, the world tumbles, and the visions begin of something that isn't quite Cielson and is instead far more terrifying. Wielding a high matter-bladed self, holding on its chain behind him in its other hand, man, represented by a woman in chains, holding a cruciger of ancient Rome in the other, representing religion, faith, and the idea therein of humanity.
But also the idea that, like, I saw her dragged on a chain and I knew her name was Man. It's such a good line.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Fucking.
And
incredible.
I knew her name was Man.
I knew her name was Man.
Jesus.
That's
where
is a
I
philosophical
have to
line.
pull.
Yeah.
That's so Revelations. That's why I have to say, like, these visions specifically are so Revelations.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They feel,
I saw him rise out of the sea, and on 10 points, I knew he was the beast. You know, like,
right. It's the same sort of like. By what logic could you constrain and like try to make that make sense? But also, philosophically, I think what's interesting about this versus like even Revelations is like we understand that is representative of the idea of man. The 10 points like are like we're drawing associations therein.
Exactly.
It's a little different.
And
like,
this is something that like
painting.
we can draw the associations, especially with the paper crown, the torn robe.
Yeah.
And Hadrian just tells us, like, hey, I understood this was man.
Yeah. This woman was humanity, man.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But dressed in death and darkness, the Cielson Lord strikes a head from a body, and seeing it, Hadrian realizes that it's his own staring up at him. It asks him, "Why won't you die?" in his own tongue, in Galstani, before a great light washes him away and presents a new scene, the one where Hadrian is represented across 1,000,000 aspects, all branching corridors as he sees them. One where he's the emperor with a red-headed princess at his feet, another crucified on the Cathar's cross, another is an old man on a volcanic shore, or as a meal for the Cielson. There are so many represented here across his visions.
Damn. And I think that all the ones you listed are the ones he specifically says, but he like does mention that there are multiple of each of these.
Right.
Like there are hundreds, there are thousands, of
millions. He says millions.
Millions, yeah, millions. He sees all these futures, but all the futures kind of lead to the same place, which is where we get back, where it's like, I mean, he doesn't necessarily see them, but this is the idea that the Americani have seen all of these futures.
Mathematically.
There are futures where he dies.
Yeah.
Or there are futures where he does what he does, and it must be.
And it must be. And they want him there.
He is here because they invited him here.
Mm-hmm. And they need him
Which
there.
is... And they builded me of whiskey, and they builded me of bad week, and they builded me of poor reading comprehension. But like, Jesus Christ, this is a good
Buddy, dude, this is a crazy chapter. I can't tell you the number of times. Again, this is the chapter that sold me on this series. Like, truly, like I was enjoying it. I was having a good time. I was like,
it's
this
never
is
been
fun.
bad to
Like,
read.
You
But
know,
like,
never like a crazy experience. Incredible like prose and like a lot of other things and like
this
references,
section,
things
I was
that.
like, that's good.
That's this is why I'm here. Like this is why I'm here.
That shit's wild.
Yeah, this man painted so much and so little in such a way. It's worth noting that like in the Kindle physical, this is like 20 pages. Although the Brethren spacing,
The pages are weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, because of the way that that's spaced. But like, man, it's so fucking good. So that said, he sees this image of this gemmed version.
Because it looks like this, y'all.
Yeah, right.
It's not normal book.
It's not a normal book. It is incredible, and also it's important to note that like not only is it like shocking when you read it for the first time physically, but also like I think that portrays like a weight, like you're saying, like a religious text, because it occupies a weird space in the text.
Also, that's like how Bibles are printed.
Sometimes,
Like,
yeah, you get
it
weird
feels
indentation. Yeah,
I'm surprised Americani wasn't printed in red.
yeah. This whole time I've been like, Josh actually doesn't have his book filling in the space like he usually does, and you were just holding it at the side.
Because
ready to
I've
go.
been reading it, bitch.
Dude,
You told me to.
No, I did. I demanded, because I think out of all of them, this chapter demands it.
I do actually think, and this would have pissed people off inherently, that when Brethren spoke, it should have been red text.
Sure. Yeah.
Just because that's like so important.
Yeah, I think that's something that like Rockio would agree with. I think the biggest thing is like you have to pay so much to like have every copy.
Oh,
And
for sure. But
they were
like,
already like, we don't know
holy
if we know
shit.
that the series is going to
If
survive.
that was red text,
Yeah.
I would shit myself.
like they did inadvertently, they did like create like a like a
They
standard.
presented it as biblical text. as it happens.
He made it happen as much as he could. That said, Hadrian also sees many other faces. He sees Edward. Again, this character that we've only heard through his visions one way or another up until this point, as a priest of a dead religion. His Cassandra sparring with the Maeskaloi on Jad in the distant dying red sun. Prince Alexander, as well as Basander Lind once again, and someone like Polino hanging from a crooked tree. But Volca everywhere in all of those infinite visions. Cross time.
My boy down bad.
For Volca?
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, this is like... What's the worst way I can put this in a good way? This is that scene from Age of Ultron, you know? Like,
Yeah, sure. Like that. This is like
where
a Thor
everybody's
scene.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one's dead.
You don't know
yet,
what it
though.
means? In Age of Ultron?
No, here. No, it's dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one's dying here, which, as compared to Age of Ultron.
But it's like a threatening scene of everybody he knows.
I don't think that this is threatening. I think that this is okay. Hang on. I don't think that this scene is threatening. The one before this, with like all this Yeltsin and this being like this big.
Maybe
other
I
thing
just
that's not
read it
this
based
Yeltsin.
off of he just watched himself get beheaded.
He did,
And then this happens,
Is
and
like
I'm like,
a
this is
subtle
a threat.
undertone. This is like a.
Yeah.
This is like my friends live to some degree, but
Which, can I jump back to him being beheaded?
yeah, absolutely.
For 1 second.
Yep.
Star Wars Episode 5. Like, that is that scene.
Uh-huh.
He cuts off Darth Vader's head. It rolls towards him. He realizes it's him. Mm-hmm. That's that scene. All right, moving on.
Luke washing his own head. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's it. I just, every time I read it, I was like, Luke, baby. It's different because she cuts off his head, not he cuts off his head, but like, there's no way that's not inspired by.
From that scene, though, we do stumble back. He stumbles back physically in the moment.
Yeah.
And we return to that old ship, the Uranusir, with that one smuggler that we know, Dimitri, Juno,
Han Solo.
Dr. Hugo, and Saltus himself.
Dude,
We're right
Saltus
back there.
came back, baby. The fact that he says in their entire crew and Saltus. Saltus was mentioned specifically, post everything else, unnecessarily. Saltus is back. Saltus is here. Saltus stays. Saltus is important. Saltus is my boy. Saltus is because Saltus is.
And must be.
Saltus exists and must be. Yeah. So, I freaked the fuck out whenever he said
joke.
Saltus.
Taking that in actively as you're talking about it.
Yeah. So very funny because I've been joking about Saltus as someone I assumed was a one-off character. The fact that Saltus gets mentioned here was like, till I broke my hand. I punched the air.
You
not
punched
true.
the for Saltus specifically.
Saltus.
As he deserves.
Saltus
As the
is
man
bad.
deserves. You know?
Yeah. So my thought still is, if he's mentioning them, they'll be back. I really believe Dimitri and Saltus, those two have to show up at one more point.
Okay. How so? Why
Not
so?
necessarily show up, but something about what happened to them is important to what happened to Hadrian, which we know at this point with the missing shit and the you're broken twice and other things. But
Like there's a distance, but we're not sure why.
there's
there.
something about what happened on that ship that matters, and Dimitri and Saltus might show up again or might be important post their own deaths. I don't know. But Saltus is the most important character of this
In the series. So sick. So good.
Yeah.
That's why my Infernape is named after him. That said, he also
Most
sees
important Pokemon.
Gibson in a vision. As he says, a man must either be a poet or swordsman or a poet, excuse me, and spitting quats. I thought you were a soldier. We needed a soldier, as it's put upon Hadrian. To which Hadrian asks who they are, replying from everywhere, "We are," before he wakes again underwater, hearing them say one more time, "We must be," in this absolutist tone.
There's this like interesting thing where they need a soldier because they know Hadrian will be a soldier. They're upset that he's not a soldier yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The timing of it is just. We thought you were a soldier. Yeah, he will be.
Yeah, buddy, come on.
But you don't seem like a soldier. Yeah, he's. I mean, yeah, he's like 112, but he's 32. But he's also like kind of 10.
Yeah, like what are you looking for here? Yeah.
Yeah.
And at what time?
Yeah, it's interesting. They see time much differently, so we know Hadrian will be the soldier that Naya said he was. But not yet.
The soldier that Naya said he was.
One-eyed. Does he lose an eye? Does he ever lose an eye?
Well, it's interesting because in these visions, one eye behind him, his eyes gets hot. His left eye gets warm. And in my research,
soldier, baby.
I didn't think about the one-eyed soldier, but I was looking up.
It's so prevalent in this entire section, and it keeps fucking me up.
You're definitely right, and I'm not here to like disclaim that, but I also want to mention like my perspective was I was like, hang on, there were like a number of like one-eyed gods that exist, and I like peeled through them.
Sure.
He mentioned specifically his left eye, and I was like Odin's left eye, as it's depicted. It turns out there's no factual reality for like Odin's left eye being the eye that he lost. It's depending on like the different perspectives because he lost an eye. So I was like, man, is this like meant to be portraying Odin's foresight? Like, and are we using the left eye as like an example? Is like Hadrian here establishing that? I don't know. Hard to say, but
probably or dick joke.
Or dick joke. Maybe dick joke. Maybe all
I hate
dick
that.
joke.
I hate that there is a dick joke earlier in the section because the section's crazy, and now I'm just here.
Now dick joke exists. So that said,
jeez.
Yeah, we do end this with Brethren asks if they see. He quotes Newton, like you'd mentioned earlier, which is just brilliant. As like Hadrian's struggling with it, and he's like Shakespeare, and he replies Newton. It makes for a very fun point as they kind of like boil down like the idea of the reason that they're here in so many ways. He also, Brethren, gives the option to ask questions as they will not meet again but once, as they claim. And Hadrian leads off with some stupid questions, to be frank, as he basically comes to the conclusion that, yeah, he'll get his meetings, he'll get to meet Arenata, he'll get free of the ship. All these things are going to happen. That's not what he wants. It's not the questions that Brethren wants to be asked. He wants to be asked more complicated questions. And so he's left just dissolving.
Ask.
Yes, exactly. He's like just left dissolving, and he hands out of the lake his sword back to him as though he's Arthur.
This idea that like you've been given the answers I have been told to give you.
Right.
Now you have questions. Ask.
Please, dear God, ask.
And every time he asks, he's like, can you do this? And he's like, maybe, no, yes, and also future will be different than now. So the yes and the no are both maybes,
question.
Where they are both yeses and nos. And you're like, cool, thank you. That does nothing for me.
Sick. I feel so happy about this entire
And then
thing.
he goes, now ask me a question. And you're like, and Hadrian's like, is 2 + 2 4? And he's like, what the idea of mathematics doesn't exist in the prime.
Also not important, dude. Like, we're not anywhere near the conversation that you want.
Like, he does be doing this shit where, I mean, he's asking important questions, I guess, within his own journey. But, like, it is frustrating me as a reader. That
There's so many metaphysical
Who are the
questions you could be
quiet?
asking.
Why did I fall into that vision?
Yeah.
Do you predate Karn? Like,
Right.
do you serve Karn or does Karn serve you? Like, these are questions that could be asked, but he's like, where's Tanaran? And he's like, in the room
So
down from your
small-minded.
door.
Yeah. He's in... He's in...
You didn't knock on 2 doors before you came here.
He's in Karn Express 4D. Ask me another fucking question.
Just
buddy.
the idea that right next to where you were held was basically the answer.
Yeah, right, exactly. He's like 2 doors down, man. Like not even
nobody
3 doors, not even kryptonite. Yeah, right. Like
You didn't
God.
even try?
No one cares. You don't care. We
You know,
shouldn't
whenever
care.
you're like, hey guys, our friend's missing. Should we look where we left him? Or should we go to China? And he just went to China. Like,
Absolutely.
that's where I assume he went.
That said, he's left to face Karn Sagara alone as he's arrived on the
Karn
shoulder.
arrives because he is coming.
Yeah.
He is coming.
He
but
is
there's
coming.
multiple he's mentioned here, and I think one of them is definitely Karn Sagara, obviously, and one is definitely the Pale Prince.
Yes,
And
they
I
do
think
hint.
that there might be a third he.
They do
not
hint
been
at,
told
like,
yet.
obviously, like, he's going to be here. Like, the Pale
I think
will
there's
be here.
3 he's coming.
Yeah.
Based on how I read it.
Oh, so you're assuming the 3 princes are showing up.
I think Karn Sagara is one of the he's.
Oh,
I think a Pale Prince is one of the he's. I think there may be a he we don't even understand until later.
okay. Cool.
That's my guess based on the phonetics.
Interesting.
It could also just be that AI goes he. Like,
Very true.
very hard to say.
That said, Karn is there. He's on that balcony. He's got Velga. He's got his kids. He's got everything else in front of him. He is angry at Hadrian's seeking of the Tree of Knowledge. He actively points these 2 massive cannons that should dissolve Hadrian into goo so quickly that he can't even turn his own shield on. And they're warming his chest as they target him. They fire. Hands of brethren intervene to catch the blasts.
He knew he was dead.
Yeah. He knew he was dead. He expected death in so many different ways. We experienced that over the course of a paragraph. And the brethren intervenes and says that it's important to keep them alive for the reasons of externalities so that Karn's goals and survival can continue, in so many words. And then they have a mental mind fuck to connect a little bit, but that's mostly almost the end of the chapter before the Psalms show up and abduct Hadrian.
Yeah. What I'll say about this section is, fuck, dude.
Fuck, dude.
I feel like I do have more to say about it, but also I don't. I don't know. Like,
If it crops up, man, like that's the reality. Like this is a reflection chapter, I think, in a lot of ways, where it's like it leaves you thinking in so many different ways. So I go back to it all the time. I literally, in my own copy, have those corners thumbed down.
Dude, they're just
because
so good.
I
Just
read this
everything about
chapter
this
every
chapter
once
is
in a
so
while.
wild.
Like it's so good. It's so good. Like even if the rest of the story isn't for you, even if like the rest of it doesn't land, no one, I think, on this planet can admit that like this isn't one of the most brilliantly written, compelling chapters
Such a good
of like
chapter.
psycho fiction. Like you're just brought into like a different realm a couple of times.
oh man, and it's so effective in
Yeah.
every fucking facet.
Yeah. Man, and the way that it ends, the way that the chapter ends, it's brilliant. As Brethren's final words to him for this book, as he says he will only meet him one other time, he says, "The price of life is death. With what will you pay, half mortal?"
Which he didn't know was his name at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but he knows now.
But he knows now.
Also, this idea that like the Psalms are coming in, and he's like, "I can kill more than 5 of you," and then more show up. Like,
they're infinite zombies.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like, and Karn shows up here. I don't know if we talked about that already.
We did a little bit, but yeah, not that crazy.
Jesus, yeah. Karn shows up.
Like, he doesn't go anywhere. That man was attached to his throne, you know?
Yeah.
He made the visit.
It's so wild. Yeah.
What a fucking crazy section. That said, next week, Josh, understanding...
I'm at a loss of words for this section.
No,
it's like fucking cool.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Again, like we talked about this a lot more in and I don't want to belabor the point because it exists elsewhere, and you should definitely check it out. But in our Devil's Cut that we did before this episode, I did want to make mention of this because I specifically didn't want to rant about it within the episode, but I talked about the fact that this has inspired me in the way that I did a whole D&D campaign. I haven't talked about it, but it also changed like a writing element of the current story that I'm on the trajectory of like finishing my like larger world that I'm running in. Those two things are disconnected. But regardless, like right there, this is one of my favorite chapters of fiction, Josh. Like, I love this shit. It's so good. This convinced me to do this as a series for the podcast. And it only gets better.
Yeah.
Like, it only gets better. So...
If this is our from Red Rising half spoiler, if this is our gala moment, these books fucking rock.
Yeah, right. I interpret this as like a gala-esque moment. You know, like it's not the end of the novel. This is not our, grapes.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I was enjoying myself up to this point, but if this is the gala moment and it's like this from now on. Holy shit.
Yeah. Grapes will come later. Don't worry about it. But that said...
I think I might need some grapes for the series. I think that's the one thing we haven't actually gotten yet. Is like a true loss.
Whew. Buddy, I'm looking at the books over my shoulder and I'm measuring the amount of loss.
Switch is going to be fine.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That said, we're going to move into understanding through the Bringing Storm next week. It's a solid 10-chapter section. It should be very good. I'm very excited. We're getting into the thick of things. That said,
I'm afraid.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. You can find us on social media, Words Whiskey Pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, feel free to shoot us an email at wordsandwhiskeyshow@gmail.com.
Also, leave us a review. 5 stars if you're not a bitch. 1 star if you want to find yourself slowly swallowed by many baby arms as they drag you down into a deep sea and show you every future. Only to consume you, to use your physical matter as processing power, and then they might spit you back up. And honestly, if like a limb or two hit the ground, a Karnskar can use that. So if you want to leave 1-star review and then become meat soup, that's totally cool. But if you leave a 5-star review, I'll feel better.
We'll keep you out of that meat stew.
I mean, I can't promise anything, but I'll feel better.
We'll try to keep you out of the meat stew. That said,
I won't put you in the meat stew.
With that, dear listener, there are endings.